I got the fam, I got the keys, I get to work. I am the man, you know what I'm saying, so leave it to me, cause I get it first, yeah. Woo, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm riding around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drama, that's word of my mama. I'll cover you up like a tombstone. I was fast in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work. If you work and it's fun, we on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We can do, ayy, we coming up from the dirt, ayy. They tryna get us to fall, ayy. I don't even gotta flex now, boy. It's only win by the fall, ayy. Taking off with the ring, ain't nothing left, man. We the kings, ran with the team, ran with the dream, ran with the one fan in the seats, ayy. I pay my dues, check the receipt. Looking at you, you already peaked. Way back then. You can't follow with my tracks, man. I was fast in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work. If you work and it's fun, we on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up.
after a couple of weeks in the upper East Coast and then down south, the field heads to the Midwest, America's heartland, and Kansas Speedway. The playoffs continue, went from 15 to 10, and those 10 still surviving with one round to go until they end up with a chance at a 4-wide title at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. We're getting down to the final few races of this 4-wide season, and we're glad that you're with us. Welcome to the 1000 Islands Correct pre-race show here on the KBueno Racing Network. And as always, glad to be joined by Francisco Bacalhau here in the broadcast booth. Hopefully we'll be joined by Keelan Belsha a bit later. But until then, I am Kenneth Bueno. And Francisco, man, it feels like a little bit ago we were just kicking off the season at Daytona, let alone kicking off the playoffs at Las Vegas. We're a few rounds in. We now have 10 drivers left. We took out the 15, and now we have 10 after 5 got eliminated last week at Talladega. And now we roll forward in a round where 2 of the 3 races are mile-and-a-half tracks.
Yeah, happy to be here from the Kansas Speedway, Kenneth, and a saying my family likes to say is, time goes by flying. In my case, it's a little bit too literal. For these drivers, I'm sure it's been going by in the blink of an eye, and now this is the final 3 races, the final opportunities that you'll have to be able to crown yourself into a championship 5 position. See, we got probably the easier round of the 2, if you will. When you look at the collection of racetracks, you have obviously Bristol, a really big wild card just because of the chaos known to reign in Tennessee there. But otherwise, when you think about the Kansas Speedway and the Homestead Miami Speedway, more traditional intermediate style racetracks, which I'm sure a lot of these drivers that are remaining in these playoffs are looking to try and take advantage of.
And of course, the most intermediate round of them all. We talked about how much of a wild card that round of 15 was, with only 1.5 miles a road course and then a super speedway at Talladega. You open things up a little more, probably in the comfort zone for most of the drivers that are left. Hard work still left to do, and probably the most difficult part of the season still left, even though those tracks at a first glance still very much look like a cakewalk. It's going to be anything but that with the competition that we've seen so far take on the 4-wide playoffs. Again, all eyes towards SoCal Auto Club Speedway, brand new finale location after Homestead got a back seat. Now it's the semi-final race and that final cutoff round of this 15-driver round of 10, or 10-driver round of 10. Well, let's look at our last week's race, Talladega Super Speedway, and the storylines that followed then, 15 to 10, and it all began right here. Non-playoff driver Connor Trafari leading us to the green flag, and Francisco, the MO for the entire field was, we are not saving fuel, we are racing it to our mightiest extent, and race to their mightiest extent they did.
Aided by the fact that the race control admin team decided to up the fuel fill for just Talladega last week and make it 100%, so you can go well over 40 laps on a fuel tank. So there was no real strategy calls to make. Some trouble early with Rodney Roberts and Greg Lautenschlager. A few others got a piece of it. Randy Showers getting a piece of it. There you see Nicholas Baumann getting a piece of damage early. That was going to hamper the 88 machine up until this point, where a huge crash collected multiple cars, most notably the 88 of Baumann, which would put him in a really awkward spot in his ability to advance to the next round.
And you saw everything in this Talladega race. 3 wide, 2 wide, drivers pushing forward, gaining, losing track position. And then, of course, with Talladega Super Speedway, you're going to have the eventual bit of chaos. And that struck the regular season champion Jonathan Juergensmeyer a hard hit to the outside wall off the nose of Jaden Porter. And while it didn't take Juergensmeyer out of the round of 15, for Juan Escamilla needed to win that race in order to stay alive in the playoffs. His hopes dashed right in that moment. Contact with Lawson Peel going hard into the wall, and his playoff hopes would go bye-bye. Up at the front of the field, still a lot of great battling, drivers shuffling around, and then our longest green flag run of the race, spoiled by this. Crash on the back straightaway, Connor Trafari, Mikey Neal, AJ Green, Keelan Belsha, among others, that will get tangled up in the mess entering turn 3, which then triggered later on one of our final attempts to get this race settled under green. Jaden Porter leading Michael Newbraw at the very back, nearly causing a crash. Then the caution would not come out, and then the crashing would ensue on the white flag lap. Trevor Haley all by himself, but there were 2 cars right behind him. One of them was Michael Newbraw, needing a fantastic finish at Talladega. He got it, then some, advancing into the round of 10, his first career 4-wide racing TJ's Team Series win coming at the 2.66 mile Super Speedway. So Michael is one of the few veterans in 4-wide that is still yet to capture victory lane until this past week at 181 races. That is a long time that Michael Newbraw had to wait until he finally achieved Paul setup shot victory lane. And there are 2 other drivers still yet to accomplish their first ever career Premier Series win, Brandon Gillis and Christopher Bishop. Those 2 have seen it all throughout their 4-wide journeys. Brandon Gillis won a truck race in Season 1 at Michigan. Christopher Bishop still yet to win, but Michael, the newest driver to put himself on the win column in 4-wide history.
Yeah, his first win in any of the series in 4-wide history, and it came at the right time for him to advance into this round. Gillis with that truck win. Curtis Kelly's not gotten a win on the Wednesday side of things, but he does have that one ARCA Series win at Myrtle Beach. So if you really jumble it up to all the drivers that have made starts all the way back when 4-wide first came onto the scene, that puts Christopher Bishop in a tough spot here, Kenneth. I'm sure he would like to try and crack a victory here or there, or an opportunity to try to go to victory lane. But with everything that we've seen in this history of the 4-wide, with the chaotic races that we've had, it might not be that long before the 42 has a trip to victory lane himself.
And no doubt we've seen Bishop get very close to race victories before in 4-wide. There's no question that he's been able to get to the near point. He just hasn't been able to finish off that final puzzle piece to get the win. We'll see if Gillis or Bishop end up making some more 4-wide history. Few races still left to go. Anything can still go down. So with Newbraw's most recent 4-wide victory, and his only so far, that is coming at a most pivotal time, advancing him into the round of 10. And now we split the difference with 5 that make it on to the championship round after a few weeks' time at Auto Club Speedway to go in it for the 4-wide championship. Lawson Peel still at the top. Technically, that was how the order was shuffled at the end of the most recent round last week. You'll see how they were all ordered in the way that they were settled in the 10. Alex Schumacher barely getting in by a few points, although he got crashed early on in that race. Just had to wait on the sidelines to figure out what the racing gods were going to tell him. But Francisco, the most important thing about this all is that bonus points do not carry over. So Peel and Newbraw's win aren't going to be used in this round. The benefits of it aren't going to be reaped in this round. Everybody leveled at 3K.
Yeah, for a driver like Steven Maggio, who got all those race wins, all those extra points, the poles, and all that, they're not going to really matter here anymore. So all that work you did in the regular season kind of goes to the wayside, and now it's about just having the 3 best possible races starting on a level field with the rest of your competition. You don't want to get yourself into a hole early, so tonight is going to be crucial for getting a good start into this round.
So we'll see. And with a blank slate, any one of these drivers can make that step forward. And like we talked about, 2 intermediate tracks in this round, a short track sprinkled right in the middle. There is going to be plenty of conversations about what could be and the possibilities that'll reach for the drivers that want to make it to that final round and a very elusive Auto Club Speedway finale race. Let's talk to one of those drivers who made it through the round of 15, probably the toughest round of them all, and still joined by a few of his Dark Horse Motorsports teammates. We're joined now by Indiana's own Trevor Haley. And Trevor, through your first 3 seasons, all of them have seen playoff appearances. This one just a bit different than the last 2. What have you made of that first round, and how do you carry over any sort of momentum into this round of 10 with the tracks we have?
Yeah, I didn't feel like I started out the round where I wanted to be, but got a good finish last week. Unfortunately, didn't get the win, but hopefully can carry last week's momentum into this round and try and get in the round of 5 there at Auto Club.
So we mentioned the tracks on this round of 10. Do you feel that it's any easier than the round of 15? And even if you don't, what do you make of the 3 tracks we have starting tonight here at Kansas?
I wouldn't say it's easier. I feel like it's kind of tough every week. I like Kansas. I like Bristol and Homestead, but I feel like I just got to get a good finish. If I'm not lucky enough to get a win these next 3 races, hopefully I can get some top 5s and top 10s and try and point my way into Auto Club.
Well, we saw a good finish from you and a good race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to kick off the round of 15. Got a similar 1.5 miles tonight. Maybe it ends up the same way, plus some more. Trevor, we appreciate the time. Best of luck here in this first race of the second round of the playoffs.
No, I thank you, Kenneth.
Trevor Haley making every single playoff appearance in his 4-wide career. That is something that is accomplished more often than not by rookie drivers, but still very impressive. Trevor still looking for his first career 4-wide victory. Someone who's also looking for career win number 1 and has gotten agonizingly close here at Kansas and then a few other times in his 4-wide career since then. Mikey Neal, the North Carolina native, one spot short of the race victory to advance into this round from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and his return to America's Heartland, he's hoping that it's a very different story than the past few times he's been close to the checkered flag. He is fast as a demon dinkin' right now. The Wake Forest, North Carolina native at only 22 years old is making a name for himself, and this will be the battle for P1 at the entry of turn 1 with 33 laps to go. Peel gets held up and Mikey Neal stamps his Chevrolet back to the front. And there we have it, yellow flag for the 5th time tonight. So does Mikey Neal, and Mikey Neal grabs the race lead off pit road. Unbelievable. Pace car makes its way down to the entry of pit road, and it's Neal in control to the restart zone. Back underway with 3 laps remaining from Kansas.
When Neal goes around,
spins, he slides off turn 4, and it's absolute heartbreak for Mikey Neal.
very heartbreaking for Mikey Neal. Could be what Mikey Neal does here on our first attempt of overtime. A great restart for him and Jurgensmeyer, and even Dahari, as Porter will fall back to 3rd. Jurgensmeyer has a great run, but he's going to continue pushing the 8 as we approach turns 1 and 2. Dahari clears for 3rd. There's Jurgensmeyer, ready to pounce if anything happens to the top 2. Dahari is starting to creep down low, and he gets into Neal. He'll spin Neal off the corner. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer goes by both of them. He'll steal the win from Auto Club. And you have to feel the heartbreak there for the number 8 machine.
There's Mikey Neal running laps here at Kansas Speedway in the practice session. Just about 9.5 minutes left. And Francisco, this story for Mikey, I mean, just continues to develop. And the way he talked to us in media day and the way he has talked to us in the coming weeks after that, once we started the playoffs, I mean, he knows the speed he has. He knows he's looking forward to a track like this. And this could be, other than Las Vegas, one of his best shots to win in the rest of this campaign.
Well, if there's anything that we've heard Mikey Neal talk about ever since we last visited this racetrack, is he was excited to get back here again. This is one of his favorite racetracks, one of his better racetracks in the entire sim. Las Vegas races relatively similar to a track like this, so if you try to give Mikey the upper edge on what his Las Vegas performance was like, then he might be one of the drivers to beat. He probably views this race as a must-win. In fact, he does. He says that he is unable to make, I believe it's the Homestead Miami Speedway race. I could be wrong on if it's the next week or the week after that, but he essentially views as the 2 races that he can run as must-win. So for Mikey Neal, it's not just about having a good run and starting off your playoffs. If you know you can't make one of the 3 races, then you got to be able to win here tonight. You see, right there, he realizes that he's showing off the merch he's got of Ohio State, and he realizes that this is a big opportunity for him. So we hope, for his sake, that he's able to put up a good show here tonight in that Ohio State theme.
An all-or-nothing mentality that Mikey Neal carries, and although this humble driver has told us about his journey learning the ropes of iRacing again after not being around the scene for a few years' time, had the help of his good friend and teammate Jaden Porter. His confidence, though, during media day as high as ever, searching for his first win and a first ever championship.
Everyone has that mentality where you got to win, and I can tell you that I'm one of the drivers that is going to do anything it takes to win a race in the playoffs.
Put in the work, they discredit the work, man, you gotta be kidding me. Only really realize when they treating you lower than 10 keys.
Yeah, this season has been pretty crazy. We've seen a few drivers really dominate this season, pick up wins week after week after week. Finishing top 10 week after week after week has finally got me a ton of momentum to put me into a pretty good playoff spot at that. And I think that's very, very important for at least, trying to finish higher up here in the points when it comes to the regular season.
When I lace, I'm the one when they talk about taste. Down bad on the luck, doing too much. I see the cramp up when they move at my pace.
Again, I really wanted that win, but at the end of the day, you feel relieved to finally know that you're locking yourself into the playoffs. And I believe at Charlotte, whenever I ran, top 10 the entire race, I knew that I was going to be good. And having that kind of sense of security really gets you into a good spot, gets you into a good mentality. That really kind of helped me and put me into a good spot. And so this year I feel more prepared for the playoffs than I did last year and the year before.
Hold on, give me a minute, get around it, they gotta choose. If they all are denied, it's certainly gonna lose.
I think a championship at this point would mean that my comeback story is complete, you know. Again, I wasn't on iRacing for a while, and I kind of got back into it thanks to Jaden. I still have not won a race in 4 wide, and I've not even really come close to the championship the last 2 seasons. And so this is, I think, you know, my best shot yet, and I'm going to work my hardest to make sure that I come home first and victorious at the finale in Auto Club this year in 4 wide.
Mikey, one of the many drivers, eyes forward on making the Championship 5 round at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway and trying to become another rookie that finds success, at least in terms of first ever 4 wide champions, continuing the streak of different title holders. Again, no one has been able to win more than one 4 wide title throughout its 7+ season history, which is just wild to say, Francisco. Given the type of driver, the caliber of driver that we have seen walk through these gates, some of them have left, some of them have not returned to 4 wide action, but many of them still here. Still a few of them still vying for the second title, but it's wild to see how many first-timers could be out there. And Mikey Neal in his 3rd 4 wide season trying to be as strong as ever.
Yeah, you think about how many drivers are the only champions in this series, and then you keep hearing the name, oh, who can still win their first championship? And it's just like, we'll end up in a field where a quarter of the field are former champions of the series. We're almost to that point anyway, so it goes to show just how competitive in the field is, how competitive everybody is against each other. How many leagues can you talk about, Kenneth, that have gone as far as 4 wide has, at least through 7 plus the amount of races we ran this season, in total number of seasons, and not have a repeat champion in any form of fashion? Normally there's a series where there's maybe one guy that has the multiple championships and then a couple others sprinkled here and there, or 2 guys that maybe won back-to-back or won multiple that have swept the series, as far as ones that have gone as long as this one has. But no, here in 4 wide, everybody's done it. A different driver has done it at least once. So the fact that this continues to be the case is just very impressive by the drivers that put on this effort. And whilst I'm sure somebody wants to be the first to win too, it is not going to come easy, because you got guys like Steven Maggio, Mikey Neal, Nicholas Bauman, Trevor Haley, numerous drivers that are still waiting for that opportunity and can very much capitalize on it.
We've heard the saying, competition is as fierce as ever, and we like to say that a lot, but that's because the drivers are also saying that. They understand over the course of the history, in the last few years specifically, how competitive this series has evolved. All the new drivers that continue to put the torch right to some of the all-time series best, and passing of the torches, if you will. Plenty of heavy hitters that have joined this series since and have maintained staying power. So that means 4 wide season 8, and it's ending, probably just going to be exciting, if not more exciting than the last few seasons and maybe any other season in 4 wide history. We're getting hyped. The drivers are getting hyped for the first ever trip to Kansas here in the playoffs this season. We asked the drivers during Media Day what their version of getting hype is with music. Take a look at what they said.
Because I heard it on TikTok from one of the edits I was watching, but it was this song called Rent Free. I don't remember who made it, but Rent Free would probably be my go-to race or race song.
Made in Japan's a good one lately. I'd say that one.
Go-to pre-race song. Usually I'll put on maybe like a Michael Jackson song, maybe like The Way You Make Me Feel or Rock My World. Usually I'd go those 2, or maybe a Creed song of some sort, but I'd probably say that'd be at the top of my list.
Musical themes and whatnot, so I mean, I'll listen to like stuff from like video games I've enjoyed, movies I've enjoyed, but right now I have a gym playlist that I listen to before pre-race that kind of gets me in a good mood. You know, it's got Future, Metro, Lil Baby, Young Boy, Future. I already said Future. Let's see.
Backup Plan by Luke Combs and who's the other guy? Bailey Zimmerman.
I listen to a lot of Floor Georgia Line and a lot of Logic, so I don't know. I don't have like a pre-race song I would listen to, but I'd probably listen to This Is How We Roll.
I'm trying to think of like a good baseball walkout song. Then I don't know. Maybe come back to that one.
I'd like to give an update. To this day, April 8th, 2026. We still don't know what Lawson Peel's pre-race go-to song is, Francisco. He kind of balled a lot of those rapid-fire questions, and to his credit, he gave us phenomenal answers through every other question we asked about his perspective of the season and his story until this point. But when it came to those spontaneous rapid-fire questions, Lawson was blank, including that one.
He drew a blank, and in his I'll defend him in saying that maybe I would do something similar. So I think I'll just toss in an answer. If I had to listen to any music, just give me anything that's heavy, any heavy metal songs. It just puts me in the mood. I get locked in. And I haven't been listening to a whole lot of music in this past week in particular. I know you and Keelan, you guys usually are on the same kind of tune. So what's the tune for you guys this week?
Oh, I mean, my tunes haven't changed for a little while since J. Cole's album came out. But what I will say is I've been tuning into a lot of the old NBA 2K soundtracks. And right now, one of my favorite songs, as I'm looking at it, is Now or Never by Kendrick Lamar featuring Mary J. Blige. It's a pretty old song, but it's from a classic album, Good Kid, Mad City. So if I had to give myself a little bit of a hype anthem, it would probably be that one.
You know, Kenneth, another great NBA 2K soundtrack that I think is amazing, the 2K13 soundtrack.
That's a good one.
I think that one's unbeatable. I mean, I always like listening. I know public service announcements on there. The World Is Yours. I can't remember who that's by. That is
That's
an
Nas.
absolute banger.
That's Nas. That is Illmatic in Nas's prime. That is a wonderful song. I mean, that's like the renaissance of hip-hop at that point. That was when it was just starting to get super, super popular off the years of Biggie and Tupac and Nas. I mean, that's a classic. A classic. In 2K, I listen to that song very often. Here at Kansas, though, it's a different tune, a 1.5 mile track, and one of two that we'll see in these final few races before Auto Club Speedway brings us the finale. Francisco, what is it about this 1.5 mile track, and what are the challenges of driving it?
This track was repaved and slightly reconfigured in 2012 for the NASCAR Cup Series. Last ran in the old configuration won by Denny Hamlin in May of that year. In the fall, it proved to be very, very fast. Matt Kenseth taking the win on that day, and even on the sim, with the older that this pavement has gotten, it still remains pretty fast here. Kenneth, you took us for a lap to kind of demonstrate the two mainly distinct lines that we'll be seeing drivers run here tonight. The one you might see the most to preserve those tires could be around this bottom side of the racetrack here. You just want to get down there as close as you can to the white line. It's going to be very easy for drivers to hit the wall off of turn 2. The car will want to take off, get tight, especially if you're in dirty air. And you want to make sure you don't hit the wall, get yourself some damage. It can compound from there. Turn 4, the wall comes up to you, but the car doesn't feel like it gets as tight there on that end of the racetrack, not compared to turn 2 anyways. And on this lap, you take us for a trip around the high side. We'll see probably a variance of different things that drivers run. On this instance, you kind of take us right by that wall. There's a lot of speed to be found by that wall with the aero proximity of being close to it, but you also might see drivers straddling that lower seam that's just beneath the left sides of your car. That acts as like a grip strip, if you will, Kenneth. And if drivers can maintain and consistently hit that seam that's just to the left of that line, they could be pretty unbeatable here.
And this track, unlike Las Vegas, doesn't have any bumps to really knock you off your game. Turns 1 and 2 at Las Vegas, that proved to be a big challenge for drivers, grabbing loose at the exit of those corners because of that oscillation. There is none of that to be found here at Kansas. It's a very smooth surface, and that means, like you said, Francisco, it is very, very fast. That's what the drivers are anticipating tonight. That's what we are looking forward to, and we hope you are looking forward to it as well. Thank you so much for joining the 1,000 Islands Prep pre-race show. On the other side, we continue the round of 10 for the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series playoffs right here on the KBueno Racing Network. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to the Thousand Islands Cruette in Clayton, New York. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in for a tasting, and our helpful and knowledgeable staff will help you find the perfect olive oils or vinegars to add that perfect touch to your next meal. We have monthly specials and sales, as well as new pairings and recipes, so there's always something new to try when you visit. The Thousand Islands Cruette on James Street in Clayton. And don't forget, no touchy the tankies.
It's good, man. How'd you get it?
I got it all through the Wawa Rewards app.
All through the app?
All through the app.
All through the app. The world is my oyster. On the Wawa app, you can get all of your favorites and pick up at any time. Gotta have a Wawa.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
In our last ditch effort, Michael Newbraw advances to the round of 10.
Nor is it so unblessed, it can change. It can stay the same. I can say, I can make my claim. Hell, hell, hell.
Yeah. Okay, this is out of control. I'm driving through hell and I done brought snow.
And somehow, Michael Walls is gonna cross the line first. Michael Walls wins at Daytona.
Trying to hear what you did, now how you came close.
Brandon Banks sails off of turn number 4 and wins.
I be all around the map.
Baggio gets his second victory of season 8. An entrance to America's Heartland sees 10 drivers that took the armor with them after the monster of Talladega to keep building the path that leads to a 4-wide championship. It's live from the virtual Kansas Speedway, where we welcome you to the first race of the round of 10 to continue the Season 8 4-wide racing TJ's Team Series playoffs right here on the KBueno Racing Network. Always so happy to have you with us on a Wednesday night of playoff action in our first of 2 mile-and-a-half races we'll have here in this semifinal playoff round, where alongside Francisco Bacalhau and Keelan Belsha, I am Kenneth Bueno. Francisco, we escaped Talladega with 10 drivers moving on, 5 going home. It was a surprise. Michael Newbraw taking the top step of the podium. His first career 4-wide win gets him a breath of life into a championship fight that continues here at Kansas, a track that is bad fast and also one that could give us a hell of a race.
It's surely going to be a good one here from the Kansas Speedway, Kenneth. A track that's very fast, and track position is going to matter a whole ton. First race in the second round, it's going to be make or break opportunities for some drivers. We'll see who's able to make the most of it.
And Keelan, the drivers that are left, 10 of them, some of them rookie drivers in their playoffs for the first time, others that have been in this step before and have escaped the wrath of the first round. What is going to be the biggest thing to keep them in play for the Championship 5 at Auto Club Speedway in a few weeks, starting with this round?
Well, I think they're going to have a good run tonight. That is first and foremost. And tonight, remember, we set round number 2, no bonus points from any of the other previous races in the regular season. Those were only good for the first round to get you through to this one. Now everybody is going to be flat at the same amount of points, and it's just going to be about getting the 3 best runs you can in comparison to the other 5 guys you're trying to knock out. But that's all going to start tonight at Kansas here in the daytime. It's going to be a fun one, and we'll see how these guys do and perform tonight. But it's all about getting a good run, making sure you're around at the end of tonight's race so you can pull off, hopefully, a race victory.
Take a look at the Season 8 schedule. A bit of a difference from the last time we went season racing in 4-wide action. These 3 races in the round of 10 last season were Michigan, Phoenix, and Charlotte. Those tracks nowhere to be found in this semifinal playoff round. Instead, Kansas takes a spot that was at one point in the regular season. It was race 14 right before the All-Star break. This time last campaign, Now it's the first race of this round. Bristol taking a front seat and ends up also becoming a playoff race after being a regular season affair on a 2-day basis. And Homestead, Miami, former championship finale location, now moved to the semifinal. Auto Club Speedway, which hosted a race earlier this season, will now take place as the finale. So we are just inching closer to the end of our 4-wide season here on April 29th. And we're excited that it's been as crazy as it's been so far. And Francisco, given the way that we've seen drivers perform at the mile and a half, so our only real other chance of seeing the 4-wide playoff field contended an intermediate. It was the first race of the first ever playoff event this season at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What did you notice there that could carry over into tonight's affair?
Clean air matters a whole lot in these races, but also just having good tires is going to matter as well. So you have to play that balancing act of how well do you treat your tires versus how much do you fight to try and stay in a good position out there on the racetrack relative to everybody else. So it's going to be a tough battle there. Seeing who was fast also mattered, seeing who was competitive in that race compared to what we could have here tonight. I know that Vegas and Kansas race relatively similar, not exactly the same, but it can still give us a pretty good indication of where to look. And Homestead is the only mile and a half shaped the way that it is as well. So it's, as much as you try to see what you can carry over, at least from here forwards, it's not going to be too much the same.
It's going to be different, that's for sure. Here at Kansas, it's going to be very fast and very grip-filled. The drivers are going to be happy to see that, but of course, they're still going to have to experiment with the lines that work and the drivers that they'll have to ultimately face. And Killen, not to drop a bombshell here, but Ethan Fonseca Moreno is back. He forfeited his playoff spot from this season. The 8-time race winner, still looking to break the win record if he comes back and wins tonight at Kansas. How important will that be for the playoff field to stay aware of what Ethan can do out there?
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, Kenneth. I mean, this guy's not coming in tonight and racing for nothing. He's looking to break a record. He's 2 wins away from it. He's got 4 races to do it. And with how he performed in the early regular season, I don't think it's that far-fetched to think he could go 2 for 4 to end this regular season. Going to start tonight at Kansas, though. It's been a while since we've seen him, but most of these guys know when Ethan's in the field, he's going to be the car to beat, so I wouldn't expect anything different tonight.
He is a threat, that is for sure. The last time we saw him, it's been a little while. The 8-time race winner, still searching for the most wins in a single season by anyone in 4-wide history. The record is 9 by Canadian Brandon Hawken when he won the title last season. Ethan trying to become the newest holder of that record. Well, let's take you trackside and bring you tonight's starting grid and our Thousand Islands Correct starting grid here from Kansas Speedway in our first race of the round of 10. Where on the front row, it is the return of the most dominant driver of the season, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, with what is going to be another pole in his 4-wide career. He'll lead us in from Kansas with Blaine Snyder on the outside, the rookie driver. Fantastic Q effort for the Chevrolet on the outside of row number 1. Most recently eliminated playoff driver Justin Rott runs in a non-playoff capacity tonight. Still a good Q effort for 3rd place. And Austin Reedy, the 34 machine, looking for his first win of the season. He rolls from the outside in 4th position. Alex Schumacher, who was a few points from being taken out of the playoff race last week at Talladega Superspeedway. He is into the round of 10, and he's got the best start of any playoff driver tonight inside the top 5. Juan Escamilla, eliminated after a must-win at Talladega, resulted in a crash. He ends up outside in 6th position for row number 3. Back on row number 4, you'll find Amir Bascom in his number 27, returning to the series for 7th, and Nicholas Baumann, the next playoff runner for Dark Horse Motorsports. He's on the outside in position number 8, and then playoff drivers inside the final row in the top 10, Jonathan Juergensmeyer in 9th, and Trevor Haley in the top 10.
11th will go to the number 60 of Michael Walls, looking to try and capture career win number 2, which could put him into the championship fight, with the 5 of Brandon Banks, who's won here before at Kansas, trying to see if he can also recover from being eliminated last week. Brandon Showers is going to be rolling off in the 13th spot, with Christopher Bishop in the 14th position. Donovan David rolling out 15th, with Lawson Peel. Deep start for the number 12 machine, struggled in qualifying. We'll see if he's able to make that up in the race. Rolls off 16th. Randy Showers will be in 17th. Craig Parks will be in the 18th spot. Stephen Maggio will be rolling pulling off in the 19th spot. A deep start for Maggio, but he always finds a way to cut through the field, so look out for that 51 driving through the top half of the field with Randall Payne alongside him rounding out the top 10 rows.
Just outside the top 20 is league owner Tyler Murray, rolling off into 21st spot with Michael Newbraw. Last week's winner at Talladega was heroic victory for him. He's going to try to find some of the same luck and punch his ticket into Championship 5 starting from 22nd. CJ Munier starts back in the 23rd spot with Duncan Fall starting his outside in 24th. These drivers did not get a lap in qualifying. AJ Green will start in 25th. Jaden Porter, playoff driver, starting deep in 26th, along with Mikey Neal, who could be a dark horse tonight after a great run here in the past and almost a shot at race victory. Look out for that 8 tonight with Colin Forster in the 99 to his outside. And just rounding out the top 30, Eric Schaefer in the 3 and Craig Lautensager in the 13.
Back in 31st is Jared Wilson. Chris Fowler is 32nd. And in our final row tonight, row 17, Curtis Kelly 33rd and Brandon Gillis in 34th place. 134 laps here from virtual Kansas City, Kansas. That equates to around 201 miles. That is NASCAR iRacing Series NIS length here from this 1.5 mile track born in 2001. And it's Ethan Fonseca Moreno with his 11th career 4-wide pole, hoping to grab his 9th victory of the season to date. Blaine Snyder with a great qualifying effort on the outside, and those two will be the first to see the green flag next time by. Big note for those who did not get a queue time in, most notably Mikey Neal and Jaden Porter. Very important as we refresh your memory that in this playoff round, the bonus points carried from the round of 15 do not move into this round. So the wins for Michael Newbraw and Lawson Peel were good enough to advance them, give them a golden ticket, but it does not give them any other bonus points that they can move through this round with. So everyone leveled at 3,000. It is all based on whatever your best finishing position is in this first race that sets the tone for how your mentality will shape up for the rest of the playoff rounds, including Bristol next week and Homestead of Miami, the semifinal, before Auto Club brings us the championship crowning moment. Moreno on the front row, Blaine Snyder on the outside. In what is 6 of the top 10, a non-playoff driver, Alex Schumacher, the best of those blue bannered cars, his Toyota Camry on the inside of row number 3. Mile and a half racing from Kansas since the first time since season 7. Let's go playoff racing from the Midwest.
And I like what I saw on that start there, Kenneth. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer wasted no time. Bauman trying to peek it 4 wide for a moment off of turn number 2. They settle it out, but that 2 machine already peeking to the inside past the start-finish line, using that bottom of the racetrack, which is fair game here at Kansas on the front straightaway below the white line. The game positions, he's done that so far on lap number 1. It's Ethan Fonseca Moreno picking up where he's left off after an absence.
Holding on to the throne. Moreno up in front, Snyder holding back in second. It's Justin Rott already experimenting with what could be up there.
Brandon Banks.
Brandon Banks seems to be in trouble off of turn 2, and he's carried it to the outside wall. He saves the Chevrolet. Brandon Banks eliminated last week at the Talladega Super Speedway, and Blaine Snyder goes for a slide from second right in front of the field, and he'll save it. But the caution flag waves for the first time on the second go-around here from Kansas.
That didn't take long, Keelan.
Yeah, it certainly didn't, and we have seen Blaine Snyder get these good qualifying efforts in the past, and unfortunately it has been a bit of a trend where he has not been able to capitalize on the good qualifying positions for him, so he goes for a slide in turns 3 and 4 to bring out the first caution of the race.
Let's get a second look at what transpired there for the 7 machine of Blaine Snyder. He is that bright blue, white, and black Chevrolet getting pushed down the straightaway by Justin Rott. Oh, and Francisco, I think that is the case of what drivers like to call aero packing. Right on the rear bumper, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer gets early damage off of that. Snyder does a whale of a job to save the race car, but it was loose from the word go entering turn 3.
Yeah, the aero packing here in Kansas is probably one of the more prominent tracks you'll see. And honestly, that exact same way, it happened to me in one of my final slide job starts at this very racetrack. Jurgensmeyer got a really good piece of damage right there with the contact with that 7 machine, and we're probably seeing that 2 make a trip down the pit lane here to repair it. It's just that significant. And indeed so, Jurgensmeyer is making a trip down pit road. Here's the view from that 2 machine, and nothing Blaine can do. When you get aero packed like that, Kenneth, you can't hold the wheel straight because you have to turn into the corner, but just the flinch of the wheels enough to spin the car out. So you can't turn to the right because the car hasn't actually lost the control yet, so it will go right into the wall. It's really a lose-lose situation. So it's not, when you're the car in front like that, you just don't want to put yourself in that position.
And such a difficult spot for Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. He watches that car slide up the banking and then roll down the hill. And Jurgensmeyer has nowhere to go, so he visits pit road with an opportunity to repair the damage on his car. Good news is, it's lap number 4, so a long way to go here from Kansas. If Jurgensmeyer can get that damage fixed in enough time, and it's not significant enough to take him out of the race, then Jurgensmeyer will be able to trot on and continue. Looks like that is the positive side of things for this Blue Deuce in Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, finishing 31st at Talladega Superspeedway despite a qualifying effort of the outside of the front row in second. Of course, in that highlight package showing you the spin off in the nose of Jaden Porter, they got the regular season champion into the outside wall, and even though he had such a monumental buffer after 2 top 10s to open the postseason, despite having qualifying efforts in both of those races that were outside of the top 10, Jurgensmeyer still had a safety net to work off of, and this little scare here on lap 5 is going to set him all the way back to what is now 26th on the racetrack. Justin Rott, by the way, also taking a trip down pit road, so he will rejoin the field in front of Jurgensmeyer in 25th position. So with all of that, Blaine Snyder and the few at the front get shuffled to the rear. Moreno holds on to the lead, and Alex Schumacher, in his first ever 4-wide round of 10 race as part of the playoffs, making his first ever 4-wide playoffs in general. Charlie Bauer Photography onboard camera gives you the look. That's a Detroit Lions shirt. Very happy to see the success of his Detroit team, specifically the Pistons at this time of year, and hoping that he can ride some of the True Sanity run that he picked up through the middle of 2025-26 and consistent runs through this season to be able to either get his first win or perhaps just have enough points to move on to the championship finale at Auto Club Speedway. He's got a good look from the outside of the front row. First proper restart here from Kansas. Field into the Sunoco restart zone. Moreno's got a head of steam to turn 1.
And to add on to your point, Kenneth, Shuey has a lot of momentum in the sports world when you consider the fact that his Michigan Wolverines just won the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship tournament. He was really excited to catch that with his family. He showed up here to Kansas with vengeance as Reedy puts the block on him off of turn 2.
Heartfelt moment with his dad watching the championship celebration just a few days ago, and rides back in third. Nicholas Baumann, the second highest playoff qualifier in this race, now looking in the rearview mirror, and 3 wide behind him. Trevor Haley, Michael Walls, Steven Maggio. How about 4 wide in turn 1? Lawson Peel taking a look to the inside. Juan Escamilla surging from the high shelf, and the playoff field in the Hornet's Nest on the back straightaway, Keelan.
Yeah, everybody mired in the pack back here, and you got to remember every point matters, and these guys are going to be hunting hard to get as many positions as they can, especially with no bonuses tonight. Whoever is the highest finishing playoff driver at the end of the night is leaving here with the points lead heading into the next race of the round. So these guys are going to be super aggressive around the guys that they're racing, and so far we have not seen anybody let up, really. You see Trevor Haley on the bottom right there trying to make it work under Lawson Peel. It's going to be interesting to see which line comes to develop, Kenneth. This is one of the few true multi-groove racetracks where the top can be just as fast as the bottom, so that's what these guys are going to have to be experiencing tonight. Typically the top will be better for defense and even maybe making a pass, but we could see that line move around all night long.
So far, a lot of drivers using the white line at the bottom, but Michael Walls not being afraid to go up to the boards in the middle of the corners, and now has moved up to 4th in his attempt to get 5 straight top 10 finishes, almost all of those coming from a finish or a starting position outside of the top 10. Michael Walls looking for his consistency through the back end of the regular season and the postseason to carry through. And he's told us before, hungry, the proper word to describe his mentality, to go at it for a Paul setup shot victory lane moment for the second time in his 4-wide career, chasing down the fellow Ford Mustang dark horse of Austin Reedy into third. And we talked about those non-playoff drivers, Francisco, that kind of spoiled the party in qualifying. We saw 7 of the 10 drivers, non-playoff runners at the beginning minutes of qualifying. It turned into 6, but still a predominant number of drivers that are not running for the 4-wide title, just doing well in the hot laps here at Kansas. How important is that for them? And on the flip side of things, for the playoff drivers, how frustrating can it get when you understand there are a bunch of drivers not fighting for the championship around you that you have to use either as a buffer or to get around, like you watch with Lawson Peel here?
Well, you have to remember that as you continue through the playoffs, the number of playoff drivers in the field reduces, so everybody else that you're racing instantly becomes a bigger number of non-playoff drivers. And how they race you can become very important, but the closer to the front you get, the harder they're going to race you, because they're still out there trying to win races, trying to get as good of a result as they possibly can. They may not put up too much of a fight this early in the race for, say, a spot inside the top 10, but surely if you're up there battling for the race lead and it's a non-playoff driver, they may not want to put you in a bad spot, but they're certainly going to do whatever they can to try to win the race.
And 2 different positions for the 2 drivers that were in contention to win this race last season. Lawson Peel on the left side of your screen, Mikey Neal on the right side. Peel runs so far 7th, Mikey Neal working up from a 27th place starting spot to be in the top 15. Despite not having a time in qualifying, still very fast Chevrolet to begin this race. Those 2 spoiled after contact in turn 2. Got Lawson Peel out of the chance to win, and then a spin off of turn 4 with 6 laps to go from Mikey Neal. Cost him a shot at his first career 4-wide dub. Those 2 drivers, first and second in our last mile-and-a-half trip at Las Vegas. Lawson getting his first win in a long time since the playoff opener of Season 7. And the now 26th-time 4-wide racing winner and the Season 4 champion already on solid progression early, much like Neal and Porter are in the first sector of this race tonight. Here comes Peel. Dive to the inside on the Red Bull Chevrolet of Trevor Haley. Make it 3 abreast between the playoff runners. Nicholas Bauman washing up high. Steven Maggio the backseat look. And Trevor Haley playing the defense off of turn 4. Remember, these 2, Keelan Belshaw, were front runners at Las Vegas not too long ago. Trevor Haley doing exactly what he's done throughout the course of the season at these intermediate tracks, using the middle and solid defense on Peel for 5th.
Yeah, you can make it really hard for that guy behind you to be able to pass you if you play correct defense as far as, you know, putting your car in the right spot. That is what these new next-gen updates have given everybody the ability to do, is really play good defense like they do in the real-life side of things, as we see the 51 of Steven Maggio start to crawl his way through the pack. A deep qualifying effort for him. But one guy who started pretty well inside the top 10 but has not had the run go in his favor so far is Jonathan Juergensmeyer in that 2 car. That is a playoff driver coming into tonight. He's sitting back outside of the top 20 right now.
Of course, that's from the damage in that first incident. And the good news is that car is still clean. So the Blue Deuce has been able to get back on righting the ship. He's still doing that right now. Back in 21st, working on last week's race winner and playoff driver, Michael Newbraw, who stunned the 4-wide world last week. Francisco, in probably the most improbable finish you've ever seen at Talladega Superspeedway. Trevor Haley is leading on the white flag lap. The entire field breaks apart behind. Michael Newbraw is in the middle of the blender, but he survives alongside Jaden Porter. 2 cars versus 1, obviously going in the favor of the 2 cars behind Trevor Haley. And then in the moves for the race victory, Porter said he felt bad not helping Trevor Haley at the end there. They make contact, and Michael Newbraw surges ahead for the victory. Probably still one of the all-time best stories we've had to tell here on the KBueno Racing Network, and Michael hoping that his breath of life given to him at Talladega could be enough to challenge through this round of 10 and make it to the Championship 5 for the first time in his career.
It was a big moment for Newbraw, and he's certainly really thrilled to go to victory lane. He's going to be punching above his weight here, hoping that he can see if he could take an advantage of opportunities given to him and try to see if he can make a push for the championship as there's a crash further back. Big crash in turn 1. That's the 89 of CJ Munier, the 83 of Jared Wilson in trouble in turn number 1. And I was just about to mention, on our screen there at that given moment is our last 3 Talladega winners.
And CJ Munier, there he is, stuck on the apron transition. And you look at that right rear tire, that is not exactly straight. And that is a totaling suspension breakage for the 89 of CJ Munier, involved in our most recent caution, second one of the night. And most likely our 2 newest DNFs of the night as well. Watch this, entering turn 1.
This is one of those situations here at Kansas. You see everybody pile in. It looks like it stays between those two for the most part, but here at Kansas, you have the option to cut below that apron, and it makes kind of interesting situation to see when that guy up in top, if he will let you merge. It looked like Jared was trying to find a gap there to make it 3 wide right there, and as he was scooting up, just barely got into CJ, turned CJ around, and that'll get both of them involved. Here's a look from Brandon Banks in the 5 car, somehow avoiding that. That's a scary ride, Kenneth.
That is unbelievable. Brandon Banks, not that much luck in the few races that ended his playoff run, culminating at Talladega last week. He is the first DBR Chevrolet to be eliminated from the postseason. He just barely squeezes away. Michael Walls has made the decision, Francisco, to stay out. He doesn't feel that 20 laps is enough to warrant putting on new shoes.
Interesting choice here. He's not the only one. Donovan David in number 94 stays out. AJ Green in the 48 stays out too. And this one's probably another big one here. The 8 of Mikey Neal does not bring it down pit road. Toss in Tyler Murray, Duncan Fall, Craig Lautenslager. Top 7 cars stay out on the racetrack. Let's see if it's a 2-tire call. You could probably expect that for most of the drivers on pit road. You see people immediately launch away with the 2 tires. Ethan's going to take 4. Not as many 2-tire calls. Looks like just that 12 machine and Christopher Bishop are going to be taking 2 tires on this stop. In fact, actually just Peel is 2 tires as Bishop takes none. Everybody else on 4, Kenneth. And this reminds me a little bit of Kentucky. We remember at Kentucky, a very similar start to the race. Shuey being up in the front with Ethan Fonseca Moreno leading the event. Caution comes out right around this point in the race. Michael Walls and a couple other drivers, including Mikey Neal, stay out on this alternate strategy. And now with the clean air, with the track position, and more importantly, cars in between, could this work out for them if we get into a long run?
And we did see Mikey Neal hang his own at the front on the old set of Goodyear Eagles, so it didn't exactly pan out to be a horrible decision for the 8 car. Remember back at Las Vegas, although it was under very different circumstances as we watched Bishop come back down pit road for a chance at some tires there, perhaps forgot to slap on the shoes of the race car. For Mikey Neal, it actually was a situation of the field got trapped because of a yellow in the middle of a pit road cycle. And Mikey Neal said, hey, I'm going to stay out. And what did that do for them? It worked out in his favor for a little bit. And then ultimately tallied into one of those late race restarts where Neal could be on the same amount of tires as the rest of the field and just run it till the end. And Mikey, although he was 1 spot short of the victory at that moment in Sin City, that alone, the strategy call that he played, was enough to just parlay into that moment. We talk about basketball as a game of runs and racing as a game of moments. Those specific moments that could pave the journey for you to either success or ultimate failure on the strategy. And when you're a driver that runs this long in iRacing around different leagues, and especially here in 4-wide, you're going to have a taste of both sides of the story. Michael Walls is the new race leader. First change of the lead. As Ethan Fonseca Moreno comes down pit road, he will now restart in 10th. Lawson Peel, remember, is the first driver out of pit road in 7th and is the only car in the front-running group with 2 fresh Goodyear Eagles. It's no tires, 2 tires, and 4 tires, separating the group into a third. Green flag back in the air from Kansas, lap number 23, and Mikey Neal gets a illustrious jump on the restart right behind Michael Walls, takes over second in turn 1.
Yeah, looks like struggles big time for the 36 of Tyler Murray. Just could not get going. He held up everybody with tires there. Ethan Fonseca losing multiple positions, and that's allowed multiple drivers to jump ahead on the strategy, putting Lawson Peel as the first on any tires. Remember, he took 2, the first on 4. Alexander Schumacher, who's still side by side with Murray off 4.
There's that gap between Shuey, Tyler Murray, and this brightly colored Exalta Chevrolet, now peeking to the lower shelf on Duncan Fall. Perhaps a 2-for-1 on AJ Green. Steadies back on the Goat Incorporated Chevrolet. Rallies the middle. And Lawson Peel back into the top 5 for the first time in a little bit. Charging on the bottom of AJ Green here in turn 3. And the blocking of the air right there for the Charlotte Chevrolet. To the bottom goes Peel. 3 wide at the exit of turn 4. Just now is where Shuey, Maggio, and the rest of the fresh tire cars are moving up, but Lawson Peel has the upper hand in turn 1.
That's a big send to the bottom right there for that 12 car. Very similar to how he punched his ticket into the Championship 5 last time he was in this round of the playoffs. Sent it into the very bottom under Jaden Porter and made that move stick and ended up winning that race, going on to the Championship 5. Trying to do something similar tonight. You see that 12 car. He's got some speed in it here, especially with the tires in his favor.
Where have you seen this before at Kansas? Exact mirror image, Francisco, of what we saw here last season for a bulk of the race. This time, Mikey Neal on the older set of Goodyear Eagles may have to just way back in the moment. See what's going to happen here with Peel. Taking a look to the inside in 3. Here comes the 12 car to the bottom, looking for second place.
And just with those better tires, now that they're a little bit out of the mess of the pack and the air and the effects that it all has, that he's able to try to make that move better. Neal gets back on the outside, though. He's going to try to fight this one out a little bit longer, especially if a caution come out. This is the mess right here. Maggio somehow cleared all of this while Schumacher's continuing to struggle to pass Duncan Fall. Look at the move Austin Reedy put on AJ Green and struggled to get off the corner. Oh, and Reedy into the wall. He tried to creep around the outside of Moreno. Not really sure there was a gap there. But now Ethan peeks to the bottom of Shuey as they're trying to continue to fall their way forward. You see Maggio right there just behind the 94 machine. He gets down to the bottom. Maggio just not wasting any time. And it was about 2 or 3 laps earlier, Kenneth, where he made an aggressive move going from the top to the bottom, slicing in front of the bumper of Tyler Murray. Got aero packed, slid the car about twice, hit the apron, and still somehow gained another position in the process.
That's unbelievable. I mean, the stuff you can see here at Kansas with these cars, all about the aerodynamics and the air. Left side of your screen, battle for the lead. Right side of your screen, the entire mess behind them. Peel's got to run. Off turn 4. Peaks to the bottom shelf on Michael Walls. No resistance from the race leader. Is there contact in turn 1? Peel makes a move to the bottom. Pivots, plants, fires at the exit of turn 2. Battle for the lead on the back straightaway.
That was about as close as they could come to making contact without making contact, Kenneth. It was very close right there, but the 60 just leaves enough room for Peel to get to the inside and take the race lead away. So we've talked about the 12 car, how hungry he was to get in victory lane for the first time this season. Finally got it done late in the regular season. Now he's trying to get it done for a second time, but the caution is out for the 3rd time this evening.
And there's trouble. Brandon Showers, yep. Car comes to a halt. Was one of those few drivers who had a top 10 qualifying effort in those few minutes before the session ended up closing out. And Brandon Showers, the most recent victim of this crash here in 3 and 4.
Oh boy, Kenneth, the trouble that happened, it actually didn't even start with the 33. It's actually that Red Bull machine, that 99 of Colin Forster on the inside. He makes a move here on Banks, gets to the left side of that 5 machine and just bam, gets right into him. And then I think right there just overcorrects it and hard into the outside wall for the 33, ending his race with that engine damage, and Banks collecting some serious damage on his front.
There's the onboard look from Showers. There's the assistance from Forster, left side of the screen. And there's just nowhere to go for Brandon. He's trying to save that car. There isn't any assistance behind him. And although Brandon Banks got away from the first incident not that long ago without any damage, this time he is scathed. As the yellow flies for just the 3rd time tonight. And it comes here lap 31. So is this decision time, guys, for these drivers that did not come down pit road at lap 20. Remember, Michael Walls was the first driver to spearhead the effort. Mikey Neal was behind him. And there's the call. They come down pit road. So they are going to give up that track position, but they will have the fresher set of tires by just 10 or so laps. Mikey Neal coming in, Michael Walls right in front, and we imagine other drivers have also followed suit. Duncan Fall also makes his trip down pit road, and then the obvious cars that are damaged from the incident have decided to make their trip as well. Potential splash on fuel, and just to take that time to get their cars back to tip-top shape. And Keelan, on the opposite end of the strategy, we saw how difficult it was for Maggio, Shuey, and some of the other 4-tire runners to work through the pack. Now they've got less resistance. It's only Lawson Peel at the front on 2. But for all the other ones that just came down pit road and giving up all that track position, how difficult now will it be for them to weave their way forward after what they just saw from the cars in their rearview mirror?
I think it's probably going to be a lot more difficult, Kenneth, because your track position's now erased, and instead of restarting 7th and 8th like these guys were, it's looking like Mikey and Micah, who just came down, will be starting in 15th and 16th. So that is about double the rows that Lawson Peel just had to deal with to climb his way through the pack. The only advantage I see is, Francisco just mentioned it, the window to make it on one stop, if they pit right there, could be open. It's opening relatively soon, and if these guys who have already pit a little too early, that window may not be open for them, and they would still have to two-stop the race from here on to the end of this thing. So the window could be open, a strategy could be in their favor, but right now it's going to be rough on them starting deeper in this pack.
We had 100% fuel last week at Talladega Superspeedway. Will we go back to 75% fuel, Francisco? So in terms of the window, what do you see here from those drivers that just came down pit road, and how intriguing it'll get if we end up getting a long green flag run?
We'll see how it works out in the long run, but the window, generally speaking, could be looking at about 45, 48 laps here at Kansas here tonight. So for drivers, it's all about just trying to maximize that, maybe push it as far as possible, especially if you pit here. Nobody really came back in to top off here. I think the 6 of Michael Newbrawl actually just came in and topped off on fuel, so he'll surrender his current track position. That way he has a little bit of extra fuel, and again, it might not be enough if it went green flag from here to the checker to make it on that one more stop, Kenneth, but you get a couple yellow flags like we do occasionally just sprinkled around in there, and you might not have to bring it back down pit road except just one time.
Does anyone take that gamble? Well, it's a guessing game right now. Green flag back in the air. There are the shots. Michael Newbraw catching up. Alex Schumacher in the middle of the pack, and the rest of the group. Green flag from Kansas Speedway. And Lawson Peel working his way to the front. Dunham and David, Stephen Maggio engaged in a side-by-side combat at the exit of 2. Those are both Toyota Camrys working through. The Wii machine ends up by, just like a tennis match at Wii Sports, trying to look for the ace here. Maggio in the middle lane, trying to look for second. And Alex Schumacher, Ethan Fonseca Moreno in the battle for 4th on back, and 3 wide behind them. Austin Reedy in the middle of that. Blue car, center of your screen. And Bauman, that green car in the playoffs still. On the bottom looking to make things work. Maggio and David make contact. 3, almost 4 wide back to turn 3, and David's in the middle of the blender.
Yeah, they made some contact off of 2. Maggio got a piece of the wall there. It doesn't look like it's too much for that number 51 machine, but he's not going to appreciate that all too much, as David, on the other hand, remember, was on old tires. He's the only one from that strategy call that's not pitted in this race. He's still falling back here, especially now after that contact with the 51. See him getting raced by the 2 of Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, who's done an excellent job already, Kenneth, at recovering up into this top 10, trying to take that spot away from the 94 machine. And all in this while, Schumacher's moved up into 4th, Moreno back up to 3rd, and Maggio, they're all bungeeing up here for that lead position. Moreno has a pretty good run here off of turn 4.
First time we see Jurgensmeyer back in the top 10 since the damage he picked up on the lap 2 crash with Blaine Snyder. Reedy from the top shelf. That's the fast lane here at Kansas Speedway. You can use it sparingly if you don't want to use the right rear tire. Wiggle off turn 2. Help down the back straightaway from Nicholas Bauman. And Justin Rott makes it a 3 for me out the entry of turns 3 and 4 and takes the 2 for 1 as well. Underneath Austin Reedy looking for his first 4-wide win since Season 5 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. His last dub was at an intermediate track and looks forward to this 1.5-mile affair that we continue to run here in the Midwest. Meanwhile, battle for the lead is shaping up to be a good one. 4 tires versus 2 on board with Peel entering turn 3.
And these 3 racing for the lead right here takes you back to like October, doesn't it, Kenneth? Where it was Lawson, Peel, Ethan, and Steven, the 3 guys to beat to open the season. But the only one who could really come out on top in those affairs was the 92. But we're going to have to see him work from behind. This is something that we have not seen a lot out of Ethan really all season long. In his race wins, we haven't really been able to see him come from behind, because a lot of the times he's just in the lead and you don't have to, he just has to play defense. But right now, having to play a bit of offense here early at Kansas, we'll see what he can do with it as Peel trying to maintain that race lead. He's doing so successfully right now, just running consistent laps.
And Peel is trying to level up his average finish here at the Kansas Speedway. 2 race victories here at this 1.5 mile in Kansas City, and that's to be said for a bulk of the schedule, Francisco. We go to series history at all of the tracks we have gone through in the regular season. More often than not, you see Lawson Peel with a pair of wins, everyone else with 1 or none. But Lawson isn't the only driver to have a pair of wins here at Kansas. Kyle Benson has done it twice before, seasons 2 and 4, able to get the victory, while Maggio trying to get his first win in a little bit through this regular season, where he caught fire and just continues to run laps at the front. Talladega was a snap in his podium streak, but still runs behind Lawson Peel. The last time we saw these 2 go at it side by side in an intermediate was back at Charlotte.
Remember who came out on top of that Charlotte race was Justin Rott after a late strategy. The win that would put him into the playoffs. Back that up with another one a week later. And you see right here, Jonathan Juergensmeyer continues that climb. He's up to 8th place now, just behind that 60 of Alexander Schumacher, just showing the speed that 2 machine has. Juergensmeyer, the winner at Auto Club and the first Talladega race earlier this season, but he's always showing top 5 pace at these intermediate racetracks, just like that 60 car behind him of Michael Walls. So don't count out those 2. They've kind of been hanging around each other pace-wise, and if they can get a little bit better track position on these restarts, it could look good for that pair. As 5th place now, Nicholas Baumann has kind of worked his way through the traffic. He's now one of those first cars that's kind of broken free from Austin Reedy on back.
One of the best qualifiers out of the playoff group in tonight's race from Kansas. Obviously, things have changed, so Baumann isn't necessarily the front runner now as Austin Reedy makes the move on the inside, pivoting to turn 3. But given his track record, Keelan, over the last few weeks, I mean, Baumann nearly saw his playoff hopes dashed at Talladega. Crashed early on, had suspension damage, and basically just had to wait the whole thing out. Watching it from the sidelines, he saw his teammate Trevor Haley get into the next round with a swimmingly good effort. Although it wasn't a race victory, it was still 3rd, so it got him enough points to survive. But Baumann hanging on by a thread. Same deal with Alex Schumacher. Those 2 had to watch the race unfold before them. A scary sight. Baumann saw the result. He was still in by a few points, and now using that opportunity that he has gained to stay alive in the playoffs to be the front runner here in this second pack.
Yeah, and he was able to punch his way through. That is the worst feeling that you could imagine, Kenneth, is being in a tight points position already and having to watch that race unfold from the sidelines and seeing what you can do from that. But fortunately for him, making it through, and everybody else he's racing comparatively, he's running pretty well, sitting 3rd highest of the playoff drivers right now. And remember, no bonus points coming into tonight, so it's all about pretty much getting the best average finish over this round, and a top 5 would be a strong way to start that as we continue to see battles through the field with all these playoff drivers. One guy who is on an alternate strategy but has not really been able to climb his way through the field yet is Mikey Neal, and we talked about how hard it's going to be to climb your way through the pack, especially on the tire disadvantage that you have. Right now, he's sitting back outside, just inside the top 15, really has not moved up at all from that restart. So it has been a rough restart for that 8 car, as he's got a lot of ways to go.
You imagine that was how the story was going to unfold, although Mikey Neal probably was going to see 3 wide in the middle of that group, but underneath AJ Green, unfortunately not able to make the move on the bottom, and will stay back with the company in the middle of the group. Top side of your screen, you're watching the potential battle for second place. Ethan Fonseca Moreno has been building up a run or two on Steven Maggio, who is now 0.6 of a second back of the race leader. By the way, these two cars are ahead by nearly a full second and a half over the next car in line. Fourth place, Justin Rott. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, back half of the top 10, doing battle with Austin Reedy, Michael Walls, and a few others. And Francisco, you watch the different lines develop here at Kansas, and you run many a lap here trying to decide whether the middle, the outside, the inside, what works over a long green flag run. And when you see a battle for position, and you put yourself in the position of a driver in this battle, whichever one, what do you see in mindset of using these different lines, and what lines you want to use now that the tires have gone through a little bit of a cycle?
Oh, I'm not too sure how the old tires feel as far as the different lanes, but I do know that on the short run at the very least, you got grip just about anywhere. You can maybe go to the bottom, maybe go to the top. Depends on where you're racing. See, Ethan goes all the way to the top here. He's going to try to get a big run, and oh, look at this. He's got a really good run. The question is, what does he do in turn one? It kind of stalls out there on the front stretch, though. Not really able to put it up all the way. He's going to have to try to continue to do so, kind of use that seam. And that's what I was talking about in the pre-race, is that if you have your lefts or rights on either side of that seam as well, Maggio has a bit of a moment. He gets tight off the corner. Moreno's now to the inside. We'll see what he does if he tries to do a slide job here to clear up in front of him. It's a little bit risky with the aero pack, but nothing too risky there, as he'll slide up a little bit. Maggio not really able to put on an effort, so Moreno displaying the patience, not really looking all too rusty.
And we saw the height of these two going at it for battle early in this season, when Moreno kept on racking off win after win after win and making his first start in 4 wide this season since January 28th at Michigan. He set off with a race victory there in the Irish Hills of Brooklyn, and since then has not been a part of the series until this evening here from Kansas, looking to recapture some of the magic from late season 7, where he was not a part of the 15 driver playoffs, and instead was one of these spoilers, going out winning races. But that battle alone with Steven Maggio is going to drop them nearly a full second to Lawson Peel, who has enjoyed a very comfortable lead and remains one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. So as we've entered our long green flag run here, the field has separated quite a bit, Keelan. It's fair to say now you're eyeing down pit road strategy. And of course, we mentioned that potential of a one-stop still in play. Probably not going to be the case for a majority of the leaders up in front, given when they last came down pit road. But how do you start to process that at 1.5 miles Kansas? You know, Homestead in a few weeks' time. Not exactly the easiest places to get down pit road from, about 190 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely not, Kenneth. You really have to get this thing woed up right in the 3 and 4 Central, really get it woed up so you can make it down to pit road, because it's so easy to speed on these racetracks, especially in the next gen. Your cornering speeds are so high. I feel like you have to get on the brakes a little bit more than you would in an O'Reilly or a truck vehicle, and it just adds to that strategy element a little bit. Most of these 1.5 miles, the strategy is pretty laid out for you, though. I mean, it's short of 50 laps on fuel, and as we start to get closer and closer to that number on when people can pit, especially if this thing goes green, I'm really curious to see how the strategies shake up for Micah Walls and Mikey Neal. I think they would need to save a little bit of fuel to try to make this a one-stop. As there's a car in defense, I think that was Colin Forster right behind them, but he's going to keep it going. But I think if it's a one-stop, you have to save a little bit. I think without a caution, it's going to be a little bit tougher for the 8 and the 60, but they're going to try to go as long as they can. As you see the Chipotle machine, Juan Escamilla, he had a very strong start to the season, Kenneth. He was top 3 in the points for probably 7 or 8 weeks. Unfortunately, was eliminated last week after Talladega. A pretty brutal round 1 for him, but back in the show tonight with his Dark Horse Racing teammates, trying to help them out any way he can.
And Mikey Neal running right behind him. That difference, by the way, at 11 laps total. So Mikey Neal can go just a little bit longer than the rest of the pack up in front. But Escamilla missing out on the Watkins Glen race, and that was probably the race that we highlighted Escamilla to be a favorite. Other than Francisco with us in the booth and Lawson Peel back in second, we would have had Ethan as a favorite had he been a part of the playoffs. But Escamilla fighting an illness then. We're glad that he's much better right now to be back in action. and joined the Talladega field minus 41, needing to win that race. And then got up in a late race crash with Lawson Peel, took away his chances at running forward for the 4-wide championship at the end. But the second-year student at the Purdue University and a driver from the Indianapolis, Indiana area, very busy city over the last few days, hosting the Final Four, that another Big Ten team ended up taking the crown in, and the aforementioned Michigan Wolverines, and the Boilermaker is going to look to do it next year. But Escamilla running well, just sneaking into the top 10 as the other drivers flail around. They got around Brandon Banks, who is the lap car as we see it. Lawson Peel remains in the lead, crossing lap 59 of 134 here from Kansas. So far, our longest green flag run of the night. Battle for second is starting to heat up a ton. Moreno got around Maggio, but the bleeding may not be done yet, Francisco. Justin Rott is slowly putting his shadow into the picture back to turn 1.
Yeah, but he just absolutely ate the wall there off of turn number 4 just as we cut to that shot there, Kenneth. He might have some suspension damage on that 07 machine, so we'll see how he navigates this over the next handful of laps. But Maggio kind of changed things up, and you see Moreno's been forced to play some defense, try to keep that 51 behind, and what that's allowed is Peel to kind of gain some more time. The gap was almost at 2 seconds a few laps ago between first and second. On this lap it closed, maybe a mistake by Peel in this particular instance, but those 2 tires clearly proving to be very effective for your race leader, and obviously the clean air is going to help. But when you have those 2 tires, we've talked about this at extreme ends throughout the entire year, you get just that little bit of extra rotation, and that those left sides weren't all that worn out to the point where it might be that much of a concern. So if the car gets tight throughout the long runs, oh no, Peel's in early.
Well, here it goes. Lock of the
up.
brakes. Is that potential trouble for Peel? He's the first one to strike. We don't usually see that, Keelan, but he is in on pit road at lap 61, and Moreno in turn takes the lead.
That'll put him in the race lead. It is interesting to see Peel come a little bit earlier. I guess he's trying to split this last run if it were to go green into thirds, and on the back end of this run, this should help him out in that 12 car. Trying to make it in and off pit road. We'll see if he's held for a speeding penalty. He will not be. That was very close to a possible speeding penalty for that 12 car, but he's going to get in and out successfully, and if this thing goes green, this would probably play into his benefit pretty well.
Again, it went back to our point, Francisco, of you go 185 for a little while, you have to back it down, you have to hit the apron transition, and then hit pit road. How difficult is that for Lawson as he nearly about sped there?
Yeah, it could be very precarious situation going down pit road, and I would think the biggest thing drivers may forget about doing is readjusting their brake bias. Not only adjust the brake bias as the run goes on to whatever you feel comfortable, one of the last things you forget to do is when you're about to pit road is raise it. You want to raise the brake bias so you can brake accurately. Some drivers, most likely they move it backwards to get the rotation in their cars, and what'll happen is you start locking up the rears and trying to maybe almost spin the car out, and the opposite can be true as well. You may have to lower it when you're going to bring it down pit road, otherwise you can lock up. Most times it's the former, but in that instance you saw Lawson probably didn't really practice a pit road entry in that instance, but made it work there, and it was a really close call. Looks like another taker, Alexander Schumacher's down the lane.
So a playoff driver is in as well. And Maggio, one of those blue banner playoff drivers, just hit the outside wall off turn 2, so it could allow Justin Rott to make a move on the inside for second, but Shuey decides his time is now here at lap 64. And again, we watch Mikey Neal, his 11 lap better tires, how that will work either in his favor or maybe in a more intriguing way as we approach halfway here from the Midwest. Shuey comes down for fresh Goodyear Eagles, and he is out and away, this time by Justin Rott, still working on Maggio in the battle for the second running position. You look at Moreno, Maggio, and Rott. These are 3 drivers with different resumes. As Peel's getting around his teammate Michael Newbrough on the right side of your screen. Moreno, of course, former champion back in Season 6. Steven Maggio made the championship finale with a chance to win the title last season at Homestead of Miami. And Justin Rott only in his first full-time campaign, winning a few races late, locking himself into the postseason with a win at Charlotte, and then backed it up with a win in the regular season finale at Daytona. These are 3 very young drivers that have already made their imprint on 4-wide history. Average age of the top 3 right now, 20.3. And the youngest of them being Justin Rott at 18 years old. That is unbelievable.
Are we old, Keelan? Because that average age is younger than the three of us.
I think so. We might be getting up there.
Yep.
The Unk booth, Kenneth. What do you make
man,
of
it's
that?
the unction out here. It's the unction at KBRN. Charlie's gonna follow us as well. He's not exactly too young either. So we're getting up there in age. We're watching the youngsters perform here at Kansas, and still no call from any one of the drivers in the running top 3, nor any sign that they are also experiencing a possible attempt to the entry of pit road. Right side of your screen, Jaden Porter getting in a sketchy scenario. That's Jurgensmeyer and Michael Walls, the three cars in front. Those are all 3 playoff drivers in the battle for 6th place.
Yeah, really close stuff there in that battle. Porter's been patient behind these guys. Micah just gets the wall pretty good, and look at how it opens the door for Jurgensmeyer to get to the outside of the 60. Porter just trying to find a way through, get a bit of clean air, and make this pass. He certainly has looked quicker than the 2 in front of him.
Spin!
But this battle
Maggio! Outside turn 4, and the other playoff drivers are in it. A disaster off turn 4 as they were coming down pit road, and surprise, we've got a yellow with 66 laps to go.
That came out of left field, Keelan. Wow, that we normally don't see Steven Maggio make these kind of mistakes when entering pit road. And right here on the first pit stop of the day, trouble for the 51. That front end has some pretty good damage to it. It won't be race ending, but it looks like it was a mistake all on his own, something you never see. And Austin Reedy nearly had his race end. So did Juan Escamilla.
Yeah, that is typically a very mistake-free driver, and it looks like this time around you just see one of the few ones that he will commit. You see him get woed up trying to get down to pit road, just caught that apron at a bad angle and went to correct it, overcorrected, and around goes the 51.
Wow, can you believe that? Maggio with heavy front end damage, Jaden Porter also involved, and Lawson Peel was the first car put a lap down. So he will get the wave around, a chance to revisit pit road here for Maggio. Lengthy repairs will follow the Cairo, New York native, and his chance for the win may be squandered right here.
See what kind of effort he's able to mount back. It takes a lot to take that 51 out of a race, as Moreno wins the race off pit road. Bauman up to second. So really good pit stop from Bauman to jump a couple of positions here as Rott is working on the lane there. You see him lose multiple spots. Not sure what could have happened to Justin Rott there. Maybe the caution coming out, and he lost that track position when he rejoined, I believe, actually. So, but Lawson Peel in this instance had to make the trip. Or actually, he stays out on the racetrack. You see him right there, and he has to cycle up wherever iRacing tells him to. Just because he stayed out doesn't exactly put him at the front of the field. So not only is he going to be at a disadvantage tire-wise, but now he lost all his track position. So that could have not worked out worse for a driver than Lawson Peel.
So Peel on 9-lap-old tires. We'll figure out where he's going to be. Definitely outside the top 20. There's Jaden Porter going by, and Porter only on a 26.7-second stop. That, of course, was repairing the right side damage he picked out from the most recent scare with Steven Maggio, Juan Escamilla, and several others. They got caught up in the mix. Maggio seems to have a clean race car, although he is going to restart this race all the way back in 26th position. Still a bit of right front damage for this Nintendo Wii car. But he will now be the last car on the lead lap as he catches back up to the field on what is 27 that still run. Here at Kansas, Brandon Banks is so far the only driver a lap down. Everybody 27th on back, or 28th on back. I've decided to call it quits tonight. That includes Brandon Showers, CJ Munier, Jared Wilson, Brandon Gillis, Blaine Snyder, and Amir Bascom with a very early exit here tonight. Well, how about the drama here in the first race of the round of 10? Moreno, as a non-playoff driver, will lead this field back to green. Nicholas Bauman, the first of the playoff runners, on the outside of the front row. Austin Reedy and Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, pair of Fords, on the inside and outside of row 2. 63 laps to go from America's heartland. Reedy gets a solid jump to nearly clear for second, and Moreno leads the pack back through turn 1.
Another good restart for Moreno as Bauman struggles to just get going, but look who moves up into third, who after finding some trouble with the strategy front, it is that 8 of Mikey Neal behind this 34 machine of Austin Reedy. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer looking to get into 4th after his fair share of troubles. And how about non-playoff driver back there trying to take a top 5 spot, Eric Schaefer, who we haven't seen yet in these playoffs, looking to have a good run here.
He was also near the first crash of the night involving Brandon Banks and Blaine Snyder and company at the back of the field. And what a drive it's been for the Virginia native for Drinking Bros Racing, trying to show out for the team members. Battle for the lead in contact on the back straightaway. Reedy strikes from the high shelf. He's got the outside yellow flag, a big crash. Tyler Murray and others involved.
Jaden Porter's in it. He got some damage out of that one. Michael Newbraw, I think Lawson Peel also might have got a scratch in that one. That was right around the pack where
Peel has
Newbraw...
suspension damage.
Yeah, Peel's destroyed in that 12 car. But wow, that was right on the back stretch. There was a horde of playoff drivers right there. The 3 involved looked to be Newbraw, Porter, and Peel here. They were just outside the top 10. And that is several good torn up race cars.
Second look, Tyler Murray starts it at the front. Into his teammate Porter, Peel, Newbraw. Nowhere to go.
So many playoff drivers involved in that accident. Looks like a bit of a bobble between Murray Green. Sets Murray down the racetrack into Bishop, and that's in the middle of the track. We're 3-4 wide almost here. There's nowhere really you can go. You see the contact there. Looks like faint contact between Murray and Bishop sends him up to Green, back down the track. Porter can't do anything at that point. Bishop, or rather Newbraw, gets a bit of front end damage there. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where the big hit happened for Peel. Here's the onboard look for the 68 of Alexander Schumacher, who had lost track position somewhere throughout that green flag run, and right here is able to get on the brakes and miss the bulk of the crash here as everyone slides up, nearly misses that 11 of Chris Fowler. As actually Lawson Peel, not only did he get that damage, but when he entered pit road, he slammed into the opening on pit road, could not turn, and it killed the engine on it. So if you stay rolling on here, Kenneth, you'll see that.
And that could be the playoffs done for Lawson Peel. Again, we talked about everybody leveled at 3,000. No bonus points, no safety net. And therefore, any misstep in the playoffs results in you needing to come back. And that could very well be the case for Lawson Peel, who needs a good one at Bristol and Homestead, Miami. This is him coming down pit road, and that car is ailing. There are multiple suspension cracks on either side, gassing up the car. And I don't know whether that's just him trying to just get into his pit lane, and he hits the opening on pit road, and his day is done.
Oh man, that's been the summary of his season so far in a stretch of seconds there. That from leading this race, from dominating with the track position, Keelan, the caution comes out at the wrong time, gets involved in that accident. Now he's out of this race.
Yeah, just unfortunate for Lawson Peel. He was trying to make it through that. It didn't look like his hard hit was Jaden Porter kind of trying to avoid it himself, but unfortunately he swiped to the right and Peel was right there. So rough damage to both of those cars.
Let's get a word with Lawson Peel. Lawson, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Oh, Lawson, one to green here. Just give us a quick perspective on what happened there from your eyes on the incident.
They just wrecked right in front of me, and there was nowhere to go. Just go back to whoever brought the caution before that out. You know it's going to happen every time, and somebody does it every week. So what can you do? Steven Short pits me at Las Vegas about one lap, and I would have lost. What do? You're just screwed either way. So you're either going to get trapped a lap down and end up back there, and then that'll happen, or you just wait until they pit behind you and Short pit you and lose the lead. So it's pretty frustrating.
Well, Lawson, a tough break here tonight from Kansas Speedway, and still 2 playoff races to go to keep your hopes alive at Bristol and Homestead. We'll see you then.
Yeah, we'll see you.
It's Lawson Peel. You can tell just how disappointed his voice sounds. He knows he had a car to win this race. He knows he had the performance there to grab his 3rd Kansas dub, but it's not going to be in the cards for him anymore. He has to wait until the last great Coliseum at Bristol to have a shot at moving on to the Championship 5 once again. Back to the Sunoco restart zone. Austin Reedy has the move up front. Mikey Neal makes the move for second. Bauman nearly taking it 3 wide in turn 1.
Mikey Neal with a strong restart. He tries to clear Moreno for second. He will. Reedy has a bit of a moment out front. What does Mikey Neal do? He's been very strong at this racetrack in the past. If he can get the lead away, he might be a dangerous driver to try and take it back away from, as Reedy goes for the block, gets a little bit of aero games here going on at the front of the field, but Mikey Neal being aggressive, trying to take the spot.
There is that saying, sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good, and Mikey Neal's got both in his back pocket. A driver who got that perfectly timed yellow to be right here in the thick of things at the front of this field. He is still the playoff front runner. Nicholas Bauman is the second car back in 4th position. Moreno makes the move on the high side for the runner-up spot. He wants to chase back at Austin Reedy after he got the lead stolen from him right as that yellow came out in the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Duncan Fall, Nicholas Bauman take at it for 4th.
And we've hit on it so many times with points reset at 3,000 today, so everybody wants to be the highest running playoff car at the end of this thing. Right now, that's what Mikey's doing. But how about Nicholas Bauman? Do not count him out yet. Still yet to get that first career points paying victory, but he has had a spectacular run so far tonight in that Universe car. He's got a little bit of luck on it recently, Kenneth. Remember, Chase Elliott won, same sponsor at Martinsville, so maybe he's trying to get a bit of that luck to go in his favor.
Taking on the outside, clear. Duncan Fall right in front, as Eric Schaefer and Jonathan Jurgensmeyer do battle for what's 6th on the racetrack. Behind them is Trevor Haley, another playoff runner, part of that Dark Horse Motorsports team. They were 3 cars full when they started the 4-wide playoffs, as they had all of their cars, apart from maybe 1 or 2, in the postseason. Escamilla went to drift after Talladega was all said and done, and now it's just the duo of Bauman and Haley to either work together or find a way to the Championship 5 on their own pace. Bauman back to the bottom in his search for 4th. Moreno is slowly creeping up on the battle for the lead against Austin Reedy. Back in clean air with 54 laps to go. The onboard look from the 34.
Moreno just looks so fast here today. It's almost like he has not skipped a beat here, Kenneth, with the time he's missed. He, like you said, hasn't raced since January 28th. Did one A-fixed race at Phoenix. Didn't exactly go his way, but otherwise has not really been on the sim at all in that time. Just 2 months with limited practice or any laps really on the sim ever since. He just hops in here, and if we told you that, you would not believe us saying that he's missed all this time. He's still out here looking as competitive as ever. He still has a record to go after. Even though he threw his championship away essentially, he can still go out there and try to claim the most wins in a single 4-wide season and move up the all-time ranks.
A lot of drivers, after the next-gen update, midway 2025, Keelan, talked about how they had to reset their entire mindset with this car. We have talked to plenty of drivers in this series and beyond, covered on KBRN, just how difficult of a process that's been. Steven Stepien for dropping the Hammer Cup Series, he's still getting used to the way this car handles. Lawson Peel is now getting a handle on it, but even then it took him a while to get used to it. We have only seen Ethan get better as a result of that update. He has figured out the kinks of the dirty air and the realistic changes to these next-gen cars on the sim, and that is the result of what the Season 8 output has been on 8 race victories in 1 campaign, the most he's ever had in a 4-wide season ever, and now using the air, trying to find any way around this 34 car, but he's back by 4/10.
And it does become so much more difficult to play offense when you're that second car in line and the leader has clean air, no lap traffic really impeding his progress, especially when you're on equal tires. And Austin Reedy taking advantage of that right now, just clicking off laps, trying to get this closer and closer to the pit window that he wants to open up, and he doesn't want Ethan to beat him by too much to get down on the pit road. If you're Austin Reedy, you want to get down and come out with that advantage. You know how hungry he is for a race victory, Kenneth. It has been a while since we've seen that 34 car in victory lane, almost 3 full seasons, so it would be awesome to see that 34 back in victory lane, especially after how his season ended last year and how this season has gone for him so far. It has just been kind of all over the place through Season 7 and Season 8, trying to get that race victory, though, and salvage what has been a pretty down year for Murray Reedy Motorsports in general.
And he's also looking to grab MRMS, their first 4-wide win since Daytona, race 23 of season number 6. It's when Kyle Benson did it. Tyler Murray did it at Talladega the few weeks before that. And Austin Reedy trying to get back to the winning ways as Mikey Neal took a shot to the inside on Ethan Fonseca Moreno. He's got the better car in this run. He got stacked up as a result, Francisco. And now this door has blown wide open with a chance for Nicholas Baumann to take advantage.
Yeah, they made some contact off of turn 4, and it cost them a little bit of time, and it brings the 88 into this fight. And that's exactly where Nicholas Baumann's been running all night long. That's the pace he showed to be in his top 5, contending for a possible chance to win this race, as the leader has just kind of been in his own world whenever that's been going on. But I also do want to point out, Kenneth, that we're at that point in the race right now in which if you pit, you can get to the checkered flag on fuel. I don't expect anybody to just pit right here on this particular lap of the race, but we are approaching 20 laps into our stints. Eventually, that number starts to meet in the middle. It'll probably meet somewhere between 30 and 35, similar to when Lawson pitted. That could pose a question as far as to when do you pit? Do you pit on the middle portion of the run? Do you wait to run long? We saw, at least with the trucks at Darlington earlier this week, how different strategies can work out and how some might be better than others. Is that going through the minds of anybody here right now?
Possibly can be. Everyone's single file though right now. 46 laps to go. And there still is possibility for one more pit stop if we stay green. Of course, that first sequence blocked by the Steven Maggio spill at the exit of turn 4 that possibly could have taken out of the race. But Maggio has recovered back to 8, so it almost feels like nothing at all happened to the New York native and the multi-time winner this season. But he still works forward, trailing behind his good friend Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, who is now popping up a pass on Eric Schaefer in the battle for 6th place. Here he goes, dart to the inside. Someone who really made his name known in the first round of the playoffs. And after Las Vegas, our last intermediate affair was a top 15 car at best. Carried his way through strategy and a late race restart to be able to rally off a top 10. And again, that crash at Talladega was the only dull spot in what otherwise has been a successful beginning to Jurgensmeyer's first ever trip through the 4-wide playoffs. Makes the move, a 1-up on Eric Schaefer. And Schaefer drops another one, so Maggio will end up back into 7th. But Keelan, this is all going to be a lot of fun if you think about the possibility of that one pit stop that remains and just how more intense that will feel like. Almost like a college football game in the middle of November. You know you want the chance at a CFP appearance, but every single regular season affair matters. Every single pit stop from here on out is going to be a money stop.
That's absolutely right, as it will likely be the money stop, especially if this thing goes green and we don't see another trip down pit road. It's all going to be about putting yourself in the right position for the end of this race. And in these cars this season, we have seen the short pit work out in people's favor pretty much all season long, because once you're able to get out there on the short pit, it's hard to run long because you have to make up all that time and then you have to find a way around them. So I always lean, especially in these next gens, towards pitting on the early side of things. We'll see if anybody's thinking that strategy. I don't think anybody's willing to do it quite yet because a caution could trap them and put them in a precarious position, but I think as we get closer to that fuel window, you want to be early on the pit road, try to make up that time, get out in front of those guys that you're racing and plague them with some dirty air.
As we watch the battle for the lead, we'll take a look further back beyond the field. We saw Alex Schumacher nearly get involved in a crash earlier on tonight, and he has since not been able to move up any bit of track position. He's down in 21st, so a great start for the Port Huron, Michigan native. Now turning in the opposite direction. Moreno send in turn 3. He's got the faster car right now by just a hair. He's getting in within 2/10 of the race leader. So with 40 laps to go, no longer is Moreno a non-factor in the battle for the top spot.
He is closing that gap up. He's been running faster than Austin Reedy. They're catching up to a lap car. I believe that's the Craig Parks machine that they're closing up to put a lap down. So we'll see how that plays a role in this fight. Reedy goes to the top, Moreno to the inside.
Here he goes, planning to the bottom, looking at the quarter panel of that young Ford Mustang. There is a lap car in front. Craig Parks shutting down the door. Is Reedy still making it as tough as ever for Moreno to squeeze by? And out of everyone on Murray Reedy Motorsports, Kyle Benson may be the second hardest to pass, but Reedy's got to be the first, Keelan.
I think Ethan's finding that out right now. Reedy just playing picture-perfect defense, not giving Moreno a look at the top to get that run. He's making Moreno make these moves on the inside of the racetrack when he gets close. And then it's easier for Reedy to play defense, running that middle, running that top, because you get all the corner exit speed. You don't allow Ethan to get that speed off corner exit. All the momentum's in your favor. Ethan is making that charge on the top right now, but I think when push comes to shove, Reedy's going to try to take that top line away and not give it to Ethan.
So, Francisco, from the mindset of a driver, and you're the race leader, Austin Reedy, put yourself in his shoes. You look at what Moreno's been able to do, catching up pace-wise, and how do you manipulate that air as much as you can with all that turbulent wake that could happen at the back end of the race car?
Well, there's two things that you normally do. You got to try to run the best line that you can, but at the same time, run whatever you can to hold up the other driver. You see Banks right there kind of ran almost in the way of Ethan, who had to change his line mid-corner. Didn't really help out the 92 all too much there. But if you're Reedy, you have to run where your car is good, but keeping in mind what Moreno's doing so that you can hold off that 92 machine and put the dirty air there, because all it takes is one run from Ethan. If he takes your line away, that could spell trouble for you, as Moreno gets another decent run to turn one, but that's not been the end. He's been able to make moves, gets up right up to the bumper of your race leader, but nothing doing, isn't able to wiggle that 34, and instead loses the nose on his race car.
Onboard looks from both cars. Reedy right rear, and Moreno his front. What he sees, trying to catch up using the high side. He did that on Steven Maggio in the later portions of the last run before Maggio eventually came down pit road and Moreno hung on to the lead. And speaking of that white Toyota Camry of Maggio, he's back in fourth. Moreno, large send, lunging in turn one, can't quite get there. Nubraw's on the bottom as a lap car, still side by side for the lead. Back to turn three. Moreno's got the nose ahead.
He's going to be up there and get able to clear him. Reedy might try to send it back to the bottom with the crossover, but he just did not have the momentum off corner exit like the 92 did. And that's going to put Ethan Fonseca Moreno back into the race lead.
Ethan is inevitable. Will find his way around at any given cost, and now he's got the lead by a healthy elbow room margin. And Steven Maggio, Mikey Neal, Nicholas Bauman, they've got the chops ready to try and take out the 34 and make their way forward. These are, again, three playoff drivers, all leveled at 3,000. One position over the other is an extra point. Maggio, the leader of all of them right now with 33 left.
What a job Maggio's done to recover from that issue on a green flag pit stop as he once again peeks to the bottom of Reedy. It's going to be difficult to make that pass on the bottom where he stands right now. You see him try to clear back to the top to avoid Mikey Neal taking that space away. He's going to be committed to that line here, Kenneth, trying to see if he can make it work. He might clear him here off of turn number 4. He's going to force the issue, and he does. So critical move by Maggio. Now he's the highest running of the playoff drivers in second. But now he has to go and catch and pass Ethan if he wants to have that guaranteed ticket to Auto Club Speedway. Ethan not in the championship fight anymore. Would have loved to imagine if this was a fight for the race win and a fight to make it into the championship.
Would have been an unbelievable storyline. But now Maggio understands that even if he doesn't win this race, as long as he stays where he's put with 32 to go and counting down, he will have the upper hand coming next week at Bristol Motor Speedway, with the rest of the round of 10 chasing him from there on out. Austin Reedy starting to drop back in pace. Bauman makes his move on the outside in the look for third, and only half of the top 10 currently running for the 4-wide championship. The other half just here for fun, here for a win. Austin Reedy one of those, Moreno the next. Mikey Neal down the inside, and those two will eventually get into another battle. We saw those two switch position not that long ago in the fight for 6th place a few laps ago. Everyone is in on their 30th or 35th lap of a stint. Maggio can go just a tad longer than everyone else with 30 laps to go. And that means, Keelan, as far as this race is concerned, there is going to be one more challenge of getting on pit road, and Maggio hoping and praying that that one mistake that caught him out mid-run that first time around does not happen again.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be, when he comes down for his green flag pit stop, I think he's going to be memory not as sharp as it usually is when you're perfectly healthy, but you talk about a flu game that we've seen with Michael Jordan. That's kind of what Steven Maggio is experiencing right now, and he's doing pretty well for himself, even with that slight mistake.
And he's catching up to the race leader by a hair. He was a 13 one-thousandths of a second, or 100ths of a second slower than Moreno was on the racetrack, but he is still leveling out quite a bit. So these two could re-engage in a battle for the race lead before eventually pit stops will come into the foreground, and that is very soon. Maggio can still wait it out a little bit longer, but even if you have that bit of an advantage, Francisco, you can ask how advantageous is it to pit later.
Oh, there we
Maggio
go.
is going the opposite way, undercut. Behind him, Trevor Haley, playoff driver, also coming down pit road with 27 to go.
Much better execution this time for the 51 entering pit road. So we'll see how this ends up working out if Moreno decides to respond on the very next lap here with 27 laps remaining. And there we're going to see the different angles. There's Trevor Haley into his stall, Maggio into his stall, and Moreno's going to follow suit. Hasn't made a green flag pit stop in a while. He's going to enter the lane, lock up the brakes, very similar to Lawson Peel's stop, but it should be all good for this 92, and the caution's out.
And the caution flies. Mikey Neal is the race leader. And who might have been in trouble this time?
Oh, man, that's the second time this race that we've had that happen just as Maggio was exiting pit road. I don't know if he was on the lead lap when that yellow came out, Kenneth. I don't think so.
We're going to have to verify. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer also coming down pit road at the same lap that the yellow flies. When have you seen that before? We'll get a second look and see who might have been the driver in trouble. And still taking
Might have
a
been
look.
Austin Reedy, around Austin Reedy in the 34.
There's Austin. Versus before most of the field went down pit road, Moreno had taken the lead, then came down the lane. And is it Austin Reedy? Second look. Bauman was supposed to take the lead. Reedy was coming down. Looks business as usual. Oh, there it is.
Very similar. Exactly the same as Maggio right there.
Wow. That time with a less harsh result. Reedy's on pit road now, and so is Nicholas Bauman. So with all of that, Moreno stays on the lead lap. Steven Maggio has been lapped by the field. And he will try to get his lap back in 16th, but all that track position is going to be gone.
This is a perfect example of just how opposite those two strategies worked out. And we talked about it with Lawson. He mentioned it to us. And unironically, Kenneth, it strikes in the same race in a key moment like this to the point where it's one lap difference between when Maggio pit and when Moreno pit. If Maggio waits one more lap, he might be in a similar spot as Moreno, or in the sense that he doesn't have to go a lap down and lose all this track position, but instead he got trapped right as the caution flag was waved. Mike and Neal's going by, put him a lap down, and he was still under the pit road speed limit, has to abide by that, and now he has to wait for everybody to cycle out and make the trip back down pit road. As you see, they'll stay have to take the wave around, and other drivers will pit. I think that's Alexander Schumacher and Juan Escamilla. Those drivers are not going to be able to gain back laps. Shuey will remain one lap down, so that's really going to hurt Schumacher's chance at trying to make a run here. Like, he'll have to fight for the free pass. Maggio's going to get back on the lead lap. He will be 17th. Trevor Haley 16th. Kenneth, night and day difference, and that's just kind of been the story of whenever Ethan's in these races. You talked about how you got to be lucky and or good. He's both.
And for Steven Maggio, another trend of unluckiness. Having a chance to take the race lead on an undercut strategy, had a car to be up there at the front for the win, and I'm sure the reaction is the same as it's been for every other similar scenario where he feels he's got a shot to take the dub, he's got a shot to build on track position, and then the caution comes out at the utmost worst time for the 51 machine. He will recycle back. He is catching up through the field, but he will have to restart back in 16th. And he's not the only playoff driver that's back there. Trevor Haley, who also joined him on pit road, is 15th place. And it is going to be a large climb for Steven Maggio with only 23 laps remaining here from the heartland of America, where Moreno, looking for his 9th victory of the season, We'll see Nicholas Baumann on his right side through the Sunoco restart zone. Backing up the field. Sluggish jump for Baumann. Inside goes Mikey Neal. And 3 wide, now 4 wide behind them. Jaden Porter on a comeback drive in turn 1.
And contact there with Chris Fowler, who's just trying to hang on for dear life with that move from Porter. How about a move from Jaden, who's on the up and up, recovering from that earlier damage sustained on the backstretch crash, but 3 wide. Lounslogger on the inside. Walls has to kind of back it out of there. Porter now trying to route to run. Randy Showers, and Fowler puts Duncan Fall into the outside wall as he starts to spin.
He is sliding off turn 4. Can he save it? Yes, he does. Chris Fowler's got it collected. We'll stay green. And it's a mess back beyond third. Michael Walls getting around Craig Lounslogger. First time we call his name all night long. He was involved in a prior incident tonight, and a chance for his best run of this race. Slipping into the top 5. Porter's got to run off turn 4. Doesn't sneak under Walls in the battle for 5th place on the racetrack. And with 21 laps to go, Mikey Neal is in a similar position he faced with at Las Vegas not too long ago. Now he's got one more driver to beat.
We've seen his speed here at Kansas in the past. He has been very good at this race. Last year, it was pretty much the opposite scenario that he was in, where he was in the race lead instead, trying to defend and hang on. Today, it's the opposite. Today, he is the attacker as he sits in that second spot, trying to find any way he can around Ethan. There's still 20 laps to go, so maybe there could be something to save in a little bit of what you got for the last 10 laps or so. But I feel like if you're Mikey, you got to be as aggressive as you can to make that pass, because it's going to be harder and harder to make that pass around Ethan the longer this run goes. But he's got a hungry Nicholas Baumann and Craig Lounslogger right behind him, so it's not going to be easy on the 8 at all.
And he also got loose entering turn 3. That was because Baumann was hanging on the rear bumper of this 8 machine entering the corner. Now this guy's got it stabilized. Craig Lounslogger runs from the high shelf on Michael Walls, and what a drive for Craig Lounslogger to put himself right in the thick of things in the top 5. Mikey Neal searches for more. He wants the lead in turn 3.
And he gets really close to Moreno's back bumper, but no wiggle out of the 92. Instead, a little bit of dirty air dealt to the 8 machine. And it's been a while since Lounslogger has won in his own right in this series. Kenneth, his last win coming in that fuel mileage masterclass at Darlington in Season 6 with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars. He's looking to end a drought as well. And just behind him, Michael Walls trying to see if he can capture a second career win to launch himself into the Championship 5. You look up and down this running order, playoff drivers, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, they're all up there.
And Lounslogger looking for his first win in a next-gen car in 4 wide since Talladega Season 5. Michael Walls underneath for 3rd, and what could be one of his best runs in the 4 wide playoffs. But still no dice on Lounslogger. He's not going to make it easy on him at the exit of turn 2 and onwards to the back straightaway. We'll see 16 laps to go next time by. Mikey Neal remains wavering at about 0.2 of a second.
It's really hard to get out of that dirty air of Ethan. He's one of the best defenders in this league and on the iRacing service here in the group that we race with. We've seen it 8 times previously this season where Ethan has just had picture-perfect defense. And making it hard on that 8 car right now. Mikey is searching for any grip, any speed he can find all the way around the racetrack. Ethan staying right on that first seam. See a little bit further back, Nicholas Baumann. Jaden Porter, what a drive for him. Randy Showers in the 22. Great run for him, sitting up here trying to get a top 5 out of today's race.
Impeccable drive from the 22 car of Randy Showers, who saw his son Brandon get crashed out very early on in this race at the exit of turn 4. And for Randy, taking into the Trackhouse number 22 font at Talladega Superspeedway and presumably carrying that for the rest of this season. It's been a quiet but effective run for Showers, and a top 10 very notable for him. Dunham and David also back there, a front runner early on and still hanging on to a top 10 in his battle with Justin Rott. And what do you know, there's Steven Maggio, had to roll back from 16th. It may not be a race victory if this stays green for now, but Maggio can still recuperate for a top 10 that he's got a lot of blue bannered cars in front, Francisco, that he needs to beat. Remember, only 5 drivers above that cut line at the end of this round.
And entering on level points, that means every point matters. Just trying to make it as close as possible. Jaden Porter had a really good run through that last lap as they worked their way past the slow car of Michael Newbrough in the tri-oval here. Porter trying to see if he can size up Michael Walls to make a move. This is for the second highest running playoff car position. Walls will try to slide up on exit. It'll get really close. Porter now to the inside. What a move there for the 28 machine. What does he do here in turn 3? He's going to drive it in. Hope to clear. He does. Walls doesn't immediately fight it back. So Jaden Porter into a podium spot.
And that is KBueno Racing 1, 2, 3 on the racetrack. 2 of them in the running for the championship. And all 4 of the BBR cars that made the postseason, they're still here. They did not get eliminated after Talladega Superspeedway, so all of them still intact. And a pair of them at the front of this field, catching up to their teammate, who has established a dominant front and 4 wide over the last few months. Had the absence, didn't make the playoffs, and you could argue he would be the 5th BBR car to be in this playoff run this season. 11 laps to go. Porter's catching up. Mikey Neal behind, and now Michael Walls is finding a sea of race cars in his rearview mirror. Here comes Bauman.
Been a great run for Nicholas today in that 88. He has kept himself in contention all day long, and if a little bit of luck falls in his favor, he'd be in a great spot to take this thing home. But it's a great run for him to open up this round of the playoffs. Remember, still yet to get that first career win, but who needs the race wins when you can fight for a championship at Auto Club Speedway? You got to have these 3 good races to put yourself through. So far doing pretty well for himself in that 88. It's been a good run for Nick.
And he's in the same place as Jonathan Juergensmeyer, who runs about a car length behind him, that blue Deuce Ford Mustang. Those 2 impressive top 10s. Their only blemish was Talladega Superspeedway. And, of course, you're going to have that risk when you race Talladega in any car, let alone this next-gen car with all of the drafting physics that it carries and all of the big runs you can have, plus the aggressive nature that everyone carried going into that race in general. Bauman's best finish of the playoffs, 3rd at Watkins Glen, after rolling off from the 4th place position. And now a top 5 in the cards for Bauman. A wonderful start as they continue to chase down this 92 machine, who will see 8 laps to go next time by. But Moreno, Francisco, is not the fastest car on the racetrack. The 2 cars behind him setting laps faster.
Oh, and big contact with Juergensmeyer and the 51 of Steven Maggio back there. They were battling for the 7th place spot. That 51 made some contact with the 2. Juergensmeyer got a good piece of the outside wall as Maggio continues to try to make up the best efforts he can to try and get as best of a result as he can. I think he's now within the top 5 drivers of the playoff runners as he's moved his way up into 7th in the running order. But this is going to get really interesting here at the front. Moreno's not exactly just running away with it. On this last lap, he was actually a 10th slower than Mikey Neal. So with Jaden Porter hanging in the balance as well, it could still be anyone in this top 5 or so that could win. But Mikey Neal looks like he clips the apron there. He's going to lose a little bit of time.
He's going to need a Herculean run at the end in order to call himself a 4-wide winner. We saw those emotions, Keelan, behind the wheel of his sim rig at Las Vegas. He knew he had a shot to win. He was similar in this position, faster than the leader. He just couldn't get around the turbulent air, and he's faced with the exact same challenge. This time it's a teammate.
Remember, he has put the pressure on himself to call this basically a must-win effort, missing one of these upcoming round of 10 races, and that'll pretty much put him out of a good point spot to try to point his way in. It's going to come down to a race victory to try to get into Auto Club. That's what he's trying to do here tonight. All that pressure riding on his shoulders. He's got 5 laps to try to get around Ethan, but we've seen Ethan this season. We know how these cars race. It's going to be pretty difficult on him. He's got to get close and find a way to disrupt that 92.
3/10 from the leader to 2nd, 3/10 from 2nd to 3rd, 3/10 from 3rd to 4th. And then only a car length as Nicholas Bauman is starting to have the hunter's eyes on Michael Walls, the only Ford in this top 5 and the only GOAT Incorporated car that remains in the playoffs in this top 5. Steven Maggio the 2nd. He's the 5th running playoff car back in 7th. Craig Lautenschlager, the only spoiler, back in 6th place. This is going to get a lot of fun in these final few. Lautenschlager under fire by Maggio in turn 3, the battle for 6th place.
And it's going to be tough for Mikey Neal to gain any more time than what he is. They're basically running the same line as one another. Is that 8 and 92 machines here now. 3 laps to go in this race. But just to take this into perspective, Kenneth, Moreno started the season with a bang, with a handful of wins, won 4 consecutive races at one point this season, got 8 by the time we reached Michigan, which was one of the last times we saw him out there on the racetrack, or even after that, as a matter of fact, and takes a break, steps away from racing, focuses on some other things going on outside of the sim, hasn't really participated on any races on the sim in that time, but decides today he's going to make the return after forfeiting his playoff spot and just doesn't skip a beat. He's been fast all night long, started on the pole, has had the strategy go in his favor all night, and now if nothing happens between him and the start-finish line right now, he's going to take the white flag and face an opportunity to do that, something only Brandon Hawken has done, and that's capture 9 wins in one season. He's now less than a mile and a half away.
It's been an illustrious comeback for the 21-year-old out of California. And in his return to 4 wide, he forfeited a playoff spot. He gave up a chance at history at a second 4 wide title, but he's still chasing history in his return to the series. And he ties an all-time record for most wins in a single season. Ethan Fonseca Moreno back to victory lane, this time at Kansas.
And he just crashed the car. I think our winnings just went up in smoke, Kenneth.
Oh, the whole field has gone up in smoke as well. Well, all the winnings for Moreno's career. Yeah, it's going to pay for all of that expense. And Mikey Neal, the 2nd time in a row in an intermediate. He is the 2nd driver at the line. He's the bridesmaid, but case in point, he's the leading playoff driver after this is all said and done. And he will now be the playoff leader as the field comes around for Bristol Motor Speedway next week. And still a lot of stories to tell in this round of 10. As Ethan Fonseca Moreno carries off turn 4, damaged race car and all, he'll visit Paul's Setup Shop, Victory Lane, for the 9th time this season. Had a conversation with a few friends ago of this next-gen update, what it did to the drivers, who's it's affected, how it has really changed the landscape of next-gen Cup leagues on the sim, and the resounding takeaway from that conversation was that Ethan has never slowed down. And in fact, he's only gotten better by the time the update came through. And Moreno, in his return to 4 wide in a few months, his first start since late January was a win at Michigan. He comes back on 100% from the field in his first start of the Season 8 4 wide racing TJ's Team Series playoffs. He's a spoiler once again, 2nd non-playoff driver to win in a given round. Francisco was the 1st. Now Moreno is the 2nd. Let's look at our full race results. From the virtual Kansas Speedway, it is Moreno back in control of the 4 wide world and ties Brandon Hawken for most wins in a single season with now 9, chasing history in the final few races of 2026. Mikey Neal back in 2nd out of what ends up being 5 playoff drivers in the top 10. Mikey, the leader of them all. He'll have the most points going into Bristol next week. Jaden Porter behind him in 3rd. That's a KBueno Racing 1-2-3 at the end of tonight's affair from the Midwest. Michael Walls ends up with 4th. Nicholas Baumann, strong all night, ends up with a top 5. And Maggio had the race of a lifetime. Multiple times we thought he would be out of contention for good. He rallies back after starting 16th on the most recent caution to a top 6 by the end of it all. Craig Lownslugger did a great job throughout the end of that race and carried into a race-high top 10. Justin Robb back through 8th. Tyler Murray with a 9th place finish, a top 10 for the league owner. And Randy Showers, his 22, fast at the end, carries out the rest of the top 10.
Eric Schaefer just misses out on that top 10 spot, who had a good run here tonight. Same could be said for Duncan Full in the 08 machine. Trevor Haley finishes in 13th, just misses out on being on the top 5 scope of those points. He'll be probably the first one out here, ahead of Donovan David in the 94. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer had a tough start to his race, but played an excellent comeback role, ends up with the top 15. Austin Reedy was leading there late before bringing out that last caution that we saw spinning entering pit road. Randall Payne will finish in 17th. Alexander Schumacher, not the night he wanted, started strongly in the top 5, finishes 18th. Juan Escamilla will finish 19th, and Christopher Bishop rounds out our top 20.
Just outside the top 20 is Michael Newbraw in the 6 car, rough start to his playoffs in the round of 10. He finishes 21st. Chris Fowler, 22nd. Craig Parks finishes in 23rd, with Colin Forster, Brandon Banks rounding out the top 25. AJ Green, 26th. Lawson Peel, we saw his speed early in this show, unfortunately couldn't bring it home with the finish he deserved. He's going to have his back against the wall going into Bristol. He finishes 27th. Brandon Showers, 28th. Jared Wilson, 29th. And CJ Munier rounds out the top 30.
And beyond them, 31st for Brandon Gillis. Amir Bascom, early exit for 32nd. Blaine Snyder crashed on lap 2 of the race. He's 33rd. And Curtis Kelly rounds out our 34-car field here from America's Heartland and Kansas Speedway. Well, now we welcome you to our KBRN post-race show, and it is a similar face back in 4 wide victory lane. It's Ethan Fonseca Moreno with his 9th race victory of the season. Ethan, my first thought to you is welcome back. It's been a little while since we saw you here in 4 wide, but you clearly never missed a beat. What are the emotions after your comeback in 4 wide? It ends up being a dominant win.
To me, it's just another win. I mean, I came in to have fun. I not sure I'll be able to do another one of these, but yeah, just came in here, just try to have some fun and enjoy some time with my friends. It's nice to come away with the win and all that. Definitely was a little difficult there, but always nice. And yeah, I enjoyed it tonight.
What'd you make there of those final few runs? This car was on rails, and apart from what it looked like a fast car, you had the gall to be able to make moves on the inside, lunge on the bottom, make moves where a lot of other drivers seemingly didn't try or seemingly couldn't do. What worked for you out here at Kansas, and how that car felt with you behind the wheel?
Just trying to find the clean air. I mean, wherever the clean air was is where you want it to be. So some people definitely made it difficult out there, and you just had to find your lane, and there, a lot of lanes worked tonight. It just really depended on where the clean air was. So as long as you were out front, you pretty much had it. Just kind of had to defend a little bit, but yeah, I think definitely for sure, dirty air or clean air was definitely what was the I don't know what you call it, but you definitely needed it tonight for sure to win this thing.
You have history in your hands on multiple fronts. You are the fastest driver to get to 9 wins in a given season, and you are also tied with Brandon Hawken for most wins in a single season at 9. There's a 10th win out there potentially in the final 3 races. I know for you, it's probably not going to be too much on your mind, but what do you think of that on the history side of things? And if there's a possibility, we'll see Ethan back in for a career record 10th win.
Oh, the more you mention it, it makes me think about want to doing it. But now with the way things are right now, I'm not too sure. But I definitely, I don't know. Maybe if you mention it a couple more times, I might actually consider like putting in more.
How about number 10, Ethan?
Okay, all right. I'll think about it. That's what's the next race again? The next couple of races.
We've got Bristol and Homestead next 2.
And oh damn, that's it. Okay.
And then Auto Club the finale. But as far as this round,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right then. Well, we'll see. I might come back for another one. But Yeah, I definitely enjoyed my time tonight. It's a lot of fun, especially racing in this league.
Well, Ethan, I think we'll do our best to try and lure you back into 4 wide, but we know, of course, life has bigger responsibilities at hand. And Ethan, in this drive for fun, it was a drive to a victory and a 1-2-3 effort for yourself and BBR as well. Before we let you bounce on this 9th victory of the season, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank?
Shout out to everybody. Everybody raced pretty clean. Race hard, of course. What's it called? The teammates. I know I wasn't in the call. Shout out to those guys at BBR. Mikey, I feel bad for him. I was actually considering about pulling over and letting him win this thing because I heard about his situation. So I was like, man, it would be cool for him. I know, but um, I never pulled over before, so I just couldn't do it. But sorry. Yeah, good run by him. Good run by Jaden. I didn't even know Jaden was even up there. To be honest, I thought he was in the crash and thought it was over for him. So, um, yeah. Actually, no, not shout out to Jaden. Jaden sucks. Um, and yeah, Red Bull being on the car. You guys put on a good broadcast as well.
Well, Ethan, we definitely appreciate the time. A welcome back to 4 Wide. It's a welcome win. Ethan, congratulations on the win here tonight from the virtual Kansas Speedway. And whether it's next season, whether it's the next few races, we hope to see you soon and talk to you soon as well. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
That's Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Now the race winner for the 9th time this season. Again, chasing history ties Brandon Hawken for most wins in any given 4 Wide campaign. Let's join the driver who runs second at the end of it all. It's Mikey Neal, lead playoff driver at the end from Kansas. And Francisco, you've got him.
Well, Mikey, just like the first round, it's a runner-up finish to begin the playoff round. But we've talked about to great lengths the fact that you're not going to be able to make one of these next 2 races. So despite not being able to get the win, what do you think was the overall mindset coming away from this second place finish?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty fun that you got to run up there for a little bit, especially starting in the back. I started back in 27th. I wasn't even able to post a lap, and being back there was pretty rough at the beginning. But me and Michael Walls made a little strategy. We stayed out on old tires, and we were able to take pretty good advantage of it. By the time we pitted about 10 laps later after a caution, we were able to make our way up, and then just slowly kind of made my way up after that. I wasn't extremely fast. It was just it was really hard to pass people tonight. Just couldn't really do too much. I mean, once you're in the dirty air, it's just really tough. But luckily, I had some tire saving there to my advantage, and I was pretty fast on the longer runs once we got going. And luckily, we had a caution fall our way and started third, and I just kind of luckily was the car that was starting on the inside line for a lot of those restarts, and that just kind of kept pushing me up there. And I knew I had to get the lead. I just couldn't. I didn't know when I was going to get it. I didn't know if I could get it. I had one opportunity, and I wasn't able to make anything of it. And I don't know what I could have done different there in turn 3 and 4. I should have done something different, but I had them, and that's all I needed just to get by them. And I just did not do that. Didn't capitalize on the opportunity I had, and then I was just kind of stuck 3/10 behind him. I was really try some different lines, but the air can only do so much to help the car. And I mean, when I have a wall of air hitting me the same amount as him, it's just kind of slowing us both down. We were both, he had clean air, and I was just just kind of stuck every single time I got anyone behind his car. So definitely just kind of it's just been a rough season, I guess. It's second time. You have a driver that's not ran a lot of races come in. No offense, Fran. Just come in and win a race, and you finish second, and you're just like, man, that's just it's I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. But at the end of the day, I mean, second place is pretty solid. Puts me in a pretty good points position, and I'm going to miss next week at Bristol, which is definitely going to suck, one of my better tracks. But then we go to Homestead, still have an opportunity, so I'm not 100% out of it. And we got some good points tonight, so I don't think I can point my way in after missing a race. But at Homestead, I got to give everything that I have, and it's not one of my best tracks, but I'm going to have to make it my best track if I want to make it to the Final 5.
I'm still going to have an opportunity there at the Homestead Miami Speedway. You currently sit, that'll be plus 12 on the cut line. You're the actual point leader as it stands right now, and even the point leader if we had the chase system as well, Mikey. So it's been a good playoffs, but what do you, I know you probably have to win Homestead Miami Speedway, but what's kind of the summary that you can paint of season 8 here with the improvements you made compared to last season?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. I've improved so much, and I mean, these last stretches of these playoff races have been unbelievable for me. I mean, second at Vegas. I can't remember when after Vegas, but I finished second, fifth, sixth, and second, and so I'm running good. It's just I just cannot tell you how frustrating it is just to not win a race when you're so close so many times. Because like if I would have made one little small adjustment at Vegas, I would have won in the first round. If I would have made a small adjustment here tonight and just ran turn 3 maybe a tiny bit different, I might be going to the final 5 at Auto Club. And I really want to get to Auto Club again. I really wanted redemption. I was leading off a turn 4, and I didn't win that. And so even though the season has been great, I mean, I really think that I've been able to improve this season more of my racecraft. I think I had the skill, but I just wasn't able to put together complete races. And this season, at least later on here, I've been able to do that. And I don't know why I've been able to do it. I feel like every time, the chase and the playoffs always come along, I always struggle there. And for some reason, it's been my best part of the season. And it's just so close. And, 3 second place finishes this season already, 2 of them coming in the playoffs. It's just really frustrating. And it's just it everyone always says second is a great place to finish, and it is, but you're also the first loser, and that's just where it feels like I've been at this season a lot. And just hoping maybe we could get a miracle at Homestead and make my way into Auto Club.
Certainly going to be hoping for that at Homestead, Mikey. But before we let you go this evening from this podium finish, anybody want to give a shout out to that helps makes this happen for the whole 18?
Yeah, I got to thank all my teammates at BBR, KBueno Racing. We brought some fast cars tonight. I know Ethan hasn't raced in a while, but congrats on the win, Ethan. Making BBR look pretty good there. Jaden with the top 3 after being damaged. Just did a phenomenal job. Micah, Jurg, Shuey, everyone else, Duncan. Hopefully I got everyone there, but they all make it happen every week. They just such good teammates. Can't ask for better ones. I got to thank Alex Huffman Designs. He designs these beautiful cars. I just wish I could get one of these things in Victory Lane. I'm so close. I got to get there. I'll get there at some point, hopefully. But man, these cars are so beautiful. Love running them every single week. So thanks to them. I got to thank all my friends and family for watching. I know my Papa's watching. I hope he liked seeing me finish second tonight. He has a great time watching the races. I know he does. So I got to thank all family, friends, and last but not least, go Buckeyes, go Hurricanes. We made the playoffs. Hopefully we can clinch the 1 seed. And I won't see you next week at Bristol, but I know that y'all will here on the channel. So thank y'all for broadcasting here at KBRN. We'll see you next week, and I'll see y'all at Homestead.
Yeah, we hope that Papa Neil enjoys watching these races here, Mikey. Congratulations on the podium. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow for some Sack Cup Series action.
Yes, sir.
Mikey Neal comes home second, leads all the playoff drivers. We know he is missing the last great Coliseum. I'm sure one driver that won't miss next week's race and could potentially take the lead, a good playoff driver at Bristol, is Jaden Porter. Keelan Belcher, you're caught up with him.
Jaden, I feel like I've talked to you like 500 times this season. Have you been finishing third a lot, or is that just me?
I've been finishing third or second. It just never is first for whatever reason.
Well, you had a good run today for what it could have been. I thought you were done after you and Lawson had that incident on the backstretch there when Tyler and them wrecked in front of you. I thought you were done. How long did the repairs take? Because it looked like you came out with a brand new car and you found a way to put it on the podium.
So after the incident, I had probably a minute 17 of damage, and that like long run before the last caution, I still had like 20 seconds of fixed. So that's why I was like stuck in like 17th, because I just had a bunch of damage and the car was just plowing tight. But that last caution, I was able to get fixed up. A lot of guys were stuck a lap down, so it put me 11th. So I was like, okay, I need to lock in here and get some spots so I can at least save my season somewhat. And we got the third. I don't know if there's anything I could have done to get past Mikey or Ethan. It's just such a clean air kind of portion of the race with a short run like that. If you get clean air, as long as you just hit your line right, you're gonna win. And Ethan was able to do that. So, but for what my race could have been, I'm definitely gonna take third and have a good point to stay out of it.
Yeah, take third and run. You end today 9 points up on the cut, and you have been Mr. Momentum as far as these playoffs goes. I know you mentioned last week you really wish we were running the chase this season, and I think tonight that kind of adds on to it. It's another very consistent run. So how about this speed that you've been showing? I know it hasn't been in the race victories that you want necessarily so far, but the consistency has to be something that you're proud of.
Yeah, you always gotta be happy with consistency. I mean, I would love to have fucking 9 race wins, but yeah, I'll take the consistency. Sorry for the language there, but yeah, I can't be mad about consistency. I really wish we were running the chase because Mikey's missing next week, and he would have been like 8 points behind me, the closest guy. So that would have been nice. But we're not doing that, so I can't really think that way. I just gotta focus next 2 weeks so we can get back to the championship round.
And we are going into Bristol next, a track where you almost knocked off Ethan to pick up a race victory there. So how confident are you going into this Bristol race? It's a track you've had success at in the past. You're really good on the concrete. So how are you feeling going into that with a bit of a buffer behind you?
I feel really good at going to Bristol. Bristol's one of my best tracks. Definitely gonna be different with the 750 horsepower package. Definitely gotta do a little testing to figure that out. But Bristol's always been a track I've been really close to winning at. Obviously, we're racing on my birthday week, and that has not gone well in 4-wide history, especially on lap 1. So hopefully we don't wreck. But I hope we can knock off Bristol. I've been really close there a few times, and I feel like if I get myself in the right position, I could win that race, and that's kind of the goal. So we'll just go try to win next week.
Yeah, hopefully everything lines up in your favor. Another good run for you, Jaden. I know Ethan was not very nice to you in his interview, so I'm glad to see you. Oh, well, I was going to say I'm glad to see you not returning the favor, being the bigger man. So that's nice of you. But a nice effort for you tonight. Looking good on points going into Bristol, a track that you're pretty good at. So we wish you the best of luck in that. You got anybody that you want to thank for a good podium effort tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone at KBueno Racing. Thanks to Ally again. I love the sponsor Ally. Who doesn't? Thanks to my brother and his friends for watching. Thanks to a few people. I also have someone who wants to say something on stream real quick. So go ahead. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast, and we'll go on to Bristol next week, I guess. I don't know if y'all picked that up. Cool.
If you want to relay the message.
Relay that you didn't hear it?
I didn't. Kenneth, did you hear
I didn't hear anything
Say
either.
hi.
And I was waiting with bated breath. That's
say it's nothing but okay. All right. Did y'all hear that?
No.
Okay, it's just not fucking working. Not working.
There we go again.
Well, just send me down. Send me down.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Jaden.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, well. You can always anticipate an interesting interview with Jaden Porter, the Season 5 champion of the series. Lots of curse words, lots of hope, lots of momentum, though, going into Bristol Motor Speedway next week. The last great Coliseum sees the 4-wide world for the second time in Season 8. Francisco Porter finished second here last time we visited. Moreno was the winner, has a chance to chase down history with a 10th victory of the campaign. Still a big question mark, though. First and only short track of the round, and also last short track of the season. Going to be frenetic.
Yeah, going to be really intense to go out there racing in Thunder Valley, in Bristol, Tennessee, under the lights there to decide who can make it into the championship round. Still one more race after that as well. But it's going to be interesting. Ethan's won a couple times there. If he shows up, he could play spoiler again. He very well could. Won the first race this season. Won one of the races back in season number 6 with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars. Jaden Porter's always in the contention to go out there and win the race as well. Every time we've been here to Bristol, he's always there. in contention to do so. Anybody can win that race. Steven Maggio had a really good opportunity. He showed some good speed there the last couple times we've been there as well, including a few runner-up finishes to complement that as well. And then Homestead Miami Speedway, we'll see who ends up making the cut when we end up in South Florida to go out, fly out to the West Coast and be a part of that Championship 5. It is creeping up on us very slowly. Crazy to think that in 3 weeks we'll be racing for a championship.
And Keelan, with the reset points, this first race will set the tone, but that still means a lot of shakeups could happen in the next 2.
Yeah, it's very possible. We go into Bristol and anything can happen at Bristol. Then we go out to Homestead. Francisco's going to be on the racetrack, so he may be going out there stealing a win from a playoff driver. So I feel like consistency is going to be the key for these guys as they go into the last 2 rounds. The points have been set in stone. I don't know if we can pull that up on here, but the way it's standing right now, Mikey Neal on top. He's got a 12-point advantage, and we have Michael Walsh, Jaden Porter, Nicholas Bauman, Steven Maggio all above the cut. Everybody else below him, but the big shakeup is Lawson Peel in the 12 car, sitting 21 points out right now. So a lot of work to be done for that 12 car, but going to 2 tracks he's had success at in the past. I mean, he's had success just about everywhere, Kenneth, but these next 2 weeks he's really going to have to put it together to try to make a championship run.
Well, we hope to see you there. Next Wednesday night, we will end up crowning a winner at Bristol Motor Speedway and continuing our journey to figure out who the drivers are that make the Championship 5 at Auto Club Speedway. Tonight was a non-playoff spoiler and all about Ethan Fonseca Moreno on his 9th race victory of Season 8 in this 4-wide campaign. On behalf of Tyler Murray, Kyle Benson, the entire wonderful crew at the 4-wide Racing Series, on behalf of Nate Polite, Eli Comerford, Charlie Byer at the KBueno Racing Network, and for my colleagues in the booth tonight, Francisco Bacallao and Keelan Belshaw, I am Kenneth Bueno saying so long from Kansas. We'll see you on April 15th for the next race of the playoffs in the round of 10 from the last Great Coliseum. We'll see you there.